up, everybody? How you guys doing today? Is this thing on? Hello, hello. No chats whatsoever. What up, guys? How's everybody doing today? What's up, Plum Dog? I'm doing pretty good, man. Not gonna lie, I jacked my back up really bad yesterday. So you're gonna see me trying to remember to lean back in my chair as much as I can today. I'm hurting. Not gonna lie about that one. But other than that, doing good. What up, Diego? How you doing, man? What up, Tariq? How's it going, man? Yeah, Vlad, that's pretty much, that would have been the case. Now, it's just, I was actually recording videos all day. Or more specifically, I was prepping to record a video. So I had bought an FRR ticket and was just working on a bunch of stuff, right? But because I was like all into it, I was like leaning forward and shit. I had bad posture, man. I guess that's the penalty for being 40. Or over 40. But yeah, I was at the computer for like 12 hours and I was leaning forward the whole time. I didn't ever really support my back. And by the end of the night, I had like this knot in my back that was like, so I'm one of those people, I don't exaggerate about pain levels, right? Like if I break an arm, it's a 7 or an 8 because that doesn't compare to like being tortured, right? So if a broken arm is a 7 or 8, the knot in my back was like a 5 when I started, and then we had our game night last night. So we were sitting at a table for 6 hours drinking and doing games and stuff. And by the end of that, man, I could barely stand up because it was basically just 16 hours yesterday sitting in chairs, leaned forward, and it just it was. I mean, that sounds like first world problems, right? I mean, it's not like I was out there digging ditches or something. It's first world problems. I was playing video games and board games all day and I hurt my back. Oh my God, I'm old. I am way too old, man. I am just way too old. But that's the truth of it. That is the truth of it. What up, Stug? How you doing, man? What up, Bronson? How's it going, man? So today we're doing more of a chill, relaxed stream. I actually thought for a little bit about canceling stream. Honestly, was really considering canceling the stream, and I was like, you know what? I've got a bunch of stuff I need to do on my account. I'll just like be better about sitting back in my chair, and we'll just kind of do like a chill stream today. We'll do some Q&A stuff, and as Jason said, Apocalypse. Yes, I am going to Apocalypse, guys. So. Aces of War, it's a long story, but Aces of War lost a lot of members last season, 2 tourney guilds. We weren't able to recruit more, and a lot of us just kind of decided that it looked like it wasn't going to happen this season. And long story short, there are some of us going to a variety of different guilds. And I am moving to Apocalypse. I'm hoping for a chance to grow my own account, get a little bit of experience in that top 5 like siege range, and so I will be going to Apocalypse as of today, and that means that a lot of things that I've been kind of lazy about, such as attribute artifacts, it is time for me to get unlazy on those things. So I will be that's a lot of what I'm going to be doing right here, is just going through. I've been farming. I'll be living in Steel Fortress for at least the next 2 months probably. Yeah, Vlad, it really did, didn't it, bro? It really did, like, it really did. Free-to-play way to farm Grim Reaper Secret Dungeon. Grim Reaper Secret Dungeon? Couldn't you just use like Double Ralk and Water Homunculus? That's what I do for all secret dungeons, is just, Grim Reaper 2A. Grim Reaper 2A or Grim Reaper SD? Not sure which one. Yes, Doug, there you go. Bro, if we could have brought aces to tourney, I'd still be there. I mean, we tried for seasons to bring aces to tourney. We got into G3 several times. I think our best finish was ranked 39. But it's the nature of these games, man, that like when you're recruiting a tourney level player, that person's gonna go to the the guild that was in the tourney the season before, and in the meantime, I need more experience on my own account. I need to actually compete at that level for myself to grow as a player. So. It was time, and yeah, it was a tough decision, bro. It was tough. This community has been like such a long time in building and such a big deal for us. I mean, I seriously would not have made it through the pandemic without the community, so it was a really tough move. But at the end of the day, I honestly barely ever have time to pay any attention to chat in game to begin with, and then since they've added emojis, I ignore all chat in game 100% of the time. And everybody's in Discord, so I'm not really moving away from anybody. Still there in the community, just competing at a different level in Siege. Just general damage reduction and damage addition artifacts. I've been very lazy with Steel Fortress because that dungeon is so slow to farm. For the longest time, I was just lazy with Steel Fortress. Khalib, is your... Yes, this is my account, Khalib. This is my account. I guess we keep that one. Is Droid 2A any good in the end? So I actually built him and tested him on stream, Vlad. He's interesting. I think he probably has some usage for people earlier stages of game, like let's say mid-game and before. I think he probably may not do quite enough as you get more into later game. But I mean, I only really tested him on stream, so that was just kind of quick testing. There definitely could be somebody that comes out and finds some better ways to synergize him, especially once they're concentrating. But at the end of the day, I think the issue with him is, you know, he's going to go through a lot of accuracy checks, and as soon as the enemy procs one time, his entire kit is wasted. So it's just, it's basically just an issue of the fact that his kit is all one-turn stuff, and that means he's too vulnerable to enemy procs. And to me, that's like, it's the same thing with Jubel. I know a lot of people really like Jubel, but Jubel's a 50-50. He's a 50% chance not to be crit, which means he's a 50% chance to be crit. And so in any kind of a longer fight, it's going to balance out and he's going to get wrecked. So I feel like the Jubel and the Roy, they both have kind of interesting kits. I think they're going to be strong 2As for mid-game players. Jubel potentially maybe could find his way into some creative late-game siege defenses, but I don't see him as much of a siege offense type of unit. Because if you're on defense and you've got a 50% win rate, that's OP. But if you're on offense and you've got a 90% win rate, that's unacceptable. And Jubel's not going to give you that 90%. He might be like a Guild War monster where it doesn't matter as much if you lose and you're just having fun type of thing. That's probably about it. That's my take, and again, I know a lot of people are really enjoying Jubel, so I may be off. I didn't even 2A him. I haven't used him yet, so I may be off, but that's kind of my take. As far as Royd goes, I don't really know where he fits. I think he's interesting. I think he's fun. I actually think he's a fun unit, but he's kind of like Water Bison to me. He's a monster. You know, for those of you who are new to stream, I used to say I call monsters, I divide monsters into 3 groups. There's monsters you win with, there's monsters you win because of, and then there's monsters you win despite of. So a monster you win because of is like a Gianna or a Ragdoll, where as soon as you bring them in, that monster gives you a win. Monsters you win with are most of your supports. I know Riley is really strong, but honestly, Riley, Fran, Chasun, in most teams that just need an attack buffing support, you can use any of those monsters interchangeably. Some of them might do a little better than others or whatever, but you know, if you don't have Riley, you can use Fran. If you don't have Fran, you can use Chasun. You just need an attack. I mean, Chasun less so because of the lack of immunity, but certainly Riley and Fran are interchangeable, stuff like that. Honestly, even Wusa and Riley are interchangeable. Wusa doesn't give you attack buff, but gives you extra damage. So most supports are monsters you win with. You don't win because of that support unit, you win with them. And then the monsters you win despite of are like the absolutely awful monsters that you just give them OP runes and theorycraft so that you can like say, hey, I won with this monster, right? So Christina, for example. Christina's like one of the worst AoE nukers in the game despite being an Nat 5. You can win despite her, but in almost every case there's better options to put there, including the new 2A witches. So now with that said, I think Royd is a monster you win with. I think he contributes to the team, but there's usually better options. I think Jubel might be a monster that you win with or despite of. Only because, now again, I think Jubel might have a place on defense because of the RNG that he brings. I just don't think he has a big place on offense. I think Darian could be a monster you win because of, because he's got a really unique passive. Linda, among the witches, definitely a monster you win because of, but you need to set up a specific team for her. Caleb, I do have an artifact guide. I've done quite a few artifact videos. Maybe one of the mods could drop. I don't think I have a bot command for that. We'll check if I do. So if I don't, maybe one of the mods could drop the links to, so I've done a couple of them even recently. So if one of the mods could drop the links to like the most recent 1 or 2 artifact videos, I'd appreciate it, guys. Bro, Lapis is a better Christina. What's the monster that all you guys, Dark Frog. Dark Frog is a better option than Christina. Bro. Christina's just awful, man. Speed, crit damage, HP, Riley, there you go. So, Marcel, what are my thoughts on the balance patch? Well, first of all, we can't call it a balance patch because they didn't actually do any balancing. So it's just a patch. Let's start by that. It's just a patch. How they did not nerf Oliver is absolutely beyond me. How do they not nerf Oliver? He should have been emergency nerfed, but other than the Oliver, I actually thought last season was relatively well balanced. I do think Nana could use a little bit of a nerf, but the Nana nerf really is mostly just to affect G3, maybe G2 a little bit. She's relatively balanced below G2, G3. I know she's really strong, but she's not like broken below the top Guardian tiers. Where she gets imbalanced is when people have things like Nana Narsha, Mo Long plus 1 more snipe, and they can create an immediate 6-on-3. That's a little too broken, which skewed her overall win rate for the season. So to me, the tweak I would have liked to have seen on Nana was that she can't gain an orb until she has actually taken a turn. So she starts with 1 orb, keeps her an anti-CC unit because her kit's necessary, but just she can't gain more orbs until she's taken a turn, so that prevents her from like going last in those snipe type teams. Other than that, the rest of what they did, the buff to Coco looks interesting. And that's kind of like it. I mean, there's some tweaks in there with the Dryads, and I mean, you know, there's some interesting stuff that we can play around with, but there's really nothing in there that was exciting. I think like Light Bison buff, I think was really nice for people who own Light Bison. I think he just became a really OP arena offense unit because he was already a strong arena offense unit, and he just became an OP arena offense unit. So I do like the Light Bison buff. I like the Coco buff. I think Coco may see some play in RTA, Probably not so much. Probably not so much siege defense. You could try and do something like a Coco Nana, but I think she's going to be too easy to snipe out. But I think Coco may have a little bit of use in RTA, possibly in siege offense as well. But for the most part, they didn't really do anything. There was nothing in there that was exciting. There was nothing in there that was like, yay. They didn't fix any of the broken stuff. They left the game mostly alone. And so it was a very disappointing balance patch on the whole. And Oliver not being nerfed is just beyond retarded. I mean, that unit should have been emergency nerfed the day they buffed him. And somehow they're not only let him run the entire season, which was crazy, but now they're going to let him go into the next season being just as broken, which is just stupid. But other than the lack of Oliver nerf, I just thought it was like a nothing balance patch. It like didn't really impact much. Some little tweaks here and there. Again, Light Bison, I think if you own Light Bison, that was a really nice buff. But even so. Yeah, so most recent, okay, looks like Jason got it. Most recent is kind of old. I thought I did one a few months ago, guys. Am I wrong about that? Oh yeah, Vlad, that's, yeah, okay, yeah, actually that's true. They made Ganny Hathor, which was already the most broken thing last season, behind Oliver, and they made it more powerful. So, I guess that's not true. They didn't leave things neutral, they made them worse. Yeah, they made them worse. Yeah, well, Joe, I agree with you. The Mephisto buff was not needed. I don't personally think Celia needs a buff. I don't have her, but I have used her on other people's accounts. I've always felt like Celia was really, really strong. I think she's just underutilized. She doesn't fit. Sometimes, some LDs just don't fit people's playstyles. That's a big deal. Like, for me, for example, I've pulled Volantis and Pontos, which are both amazingly strong LD5s, but they don't fit my playstyle at all, so they do nothing for me. Volantis actually probably cratered my RTA season last season. I kept trying to make him work, and I finished the season with a 49% win rate with him, which is basically, for the amount of times I drafted him, Volantis was the reason that I dropped in RTA, basically. And again, Volantis, amazingly strong LD5, so I'm not trashing Volantis in any way here. I'm trashing my usage of Volantis. He didn't fit my playstyle, and I tried to make him work in my playstyle, and I didn't do it right. So I think that's the case for a lot of people with Celia, maybe. Mephisto buff was totally unnecessary. Mephisto was already strong. They buffed Mephisto to try and counter Nana instead of nerfing Nana, basically. But Mephisto was already a force ban in most of those situations, and when he's not, you usually already had stuff to deal with him that the shield's not going to change that much, I don't think, maybe. But yeah. Yeah, Marcel. Yeah, like I said, yeah, I agree with you completely. It's just not enough. It just wasn't enough, especially because so many of the changes were relatively minor tweaks here and there. The sleep thing, I want to see how that plays out. For the most part, I think that was a terrible change and an unnecessary one, because Ganny Hathor was already super dominant last season. But we'll see how that one plays out. I don't know if the sleep change is going to be that impactful or not. It may be. It really may be. It also may not matter that much. When I first read through it, I was kind of like, it sucks that they did that, but it doesn't look like it's going to change a whole lot. But sometimes, I mean, you never know. Once people get in and start using it, once it's in the game and theory crafting and all that, it could be more impactful than it looked. No, because Celia already couldn't glance since she's an LD. I guess what it would do is it would impact the units on the other units that are paired with Celia. What up, Elias? Thanks for hanging out on the stream. Thanks for dropping that message too, man. I appreciate it. Okay, am I done with dark? We're done with dark. Yeah, we're done with dark. Let's see, light. Okay. Is bot even on? The bot is on, but I think I turned it on too soon because it shows that it's offline. It's kind of annoying. If I turn the bot on too soon, then it's not able to connect to YouTube, so I'm just restarting it now. Let's see, Narsha and Lucifer over her. So Caleb, you right there, you basically just kind of reinforced exactly what I was talking about. Celia doesn't really pair all that well with like Narsha and Lucifer type teams. Celia is much more of a turn 2 unit, even though she's got great base speed and she gives you CC and all that stuff. She's going to do better as a turn 2 unit. You build her to hit really hard and you build her to control the opponent. I should probably say more like she's going to do better as a turn what I call 1.5 unit. And Narsha's also kind of a turn 1.5 unit, which is basically units that you build on really fast bio. And then maybe run with a speed lead and still try and take turn 1, but you know you're not taking turn 1 against Swift players. But with that said, Celia plays in totally different types of teams than Narsha. I think you could actually use Celia and Narsha together. To be fair, I do think you could use Celia and Narsha together. The problem is when you don't get them together, the units that support Narsha and the units that support Celia are different. So when you try to use Celia and Narsha together and one of those 2 units gets banned, the draft doesn't fit together that well. It would be like me trying to use Volantis and Julian together, for example. Or actually, that's probably a bad analogy. It would be like me trying to use Julian and Van Cliff together. Julian could get a stun, Van Cliff could extend it to 3 turns. That makes a lot of sense. But Van Cliff needs like lots of strip around him so that he can, you know, whatever. And Julian needs lots of immunity and sustain so that he can't get Oblivion. They need totally different types of support teams around them. So if I wanted to put Julian and Van Cliff into the first team, it would not really fit together very well because then every time one or the other got banned, I would get wrecked. I think the issue there is kind of the same thing when you talk about like trying to play Celia and Narsha. The 2 of them work great together, but they don't work with the same units around them. And then Lucifer, obviously, Lucifer just straight up counters everything Narsha does because he's going to wake everybody up. Lucifer honestly doesn't really fit all that well with either of those 2. Totally different type of comp. Like you wouldn't use Lucifer with either Narsha or Celia. So I think the downside for you is that you have 3 LDs that none of them really work in kind of the same team. I did not, Diego. I did not even finish G2, bro. So to be fair though, I was safe G2 like a dozen times in the last week. I was even safe G2 with 4 wings left, but I just kept pushing. I've already finished G2. I just wanted to try and get my best finish, and instead I wound up finishing, check this out. I finished 1 point short, and it was just because I kept pushing. So I was at 2012. I was at 2000. I was at 2070 with 2 weeks to go in the season. I was at 2050 with a week to go in the season, and I was over 2010, 2012 like a dozen times in the final week. I just kept pushing, and I wound up finishing 1 point short. I was at 1997 with 4 wings left, and I went 2-2 in my last 4 wings, but I lost points because I was matching people below me. So, is what it is, but the skin's not really all that OP. I don't use most Hell Ladies anyway, and even if I did, the skin's not that OP. I just gave it to Ethna. Kraka gets no skin because Kraka is so bad. And yeah, that's kind of how we finished up. Plum Dog, the Brandia buff is going to be OP in Rift Beast farming. Okay. Alright, with the sleep thing, is it every attack on a Slepmon can't glance, or every sleep skill that does damage can't glance? I thought it was all skills with sleep can't glance. That's the thing, Wojo, is I really don't know, which is why I'm not sure. So many times, sometimes you just need to see this stuff in the game because the translations are not very clear. So I think it's skills that sleep cannot glance. And actually, I've been responding like it's you can't glance sleeping monsters. But now that you're saying it, I think you're right. I think it's skills that sleep cannot glance. Which technically means like the Wusa S1 could not glance. So Wusa wouldn't glance wind units, which would be a buff right there. Rika also would not be able to glance. So that's pretty major if it goes that way. That's a really big deal. All of the occult girls, all of the pioneers, etc., all of that stuff, that would be a buff across the board. So I wonder if that is what they meant, because that's a big change. That's a big change if it's that way. Yeah, so that would absolutely break the game. If you could gem more than one stat, then every rune is usable. There'd be no point to farm anything. You just farm a legend rune, roll it to 12, and then gem all 4 stats. So yeah, no, definitely the 1 stat gem. Now, it would be interesting if you could revert a rune that you screwed up and gemmed, and you're like, man, I regret that decision, I want to change it. I would kind of support that, because I think there's a lot of early game players who make mistakes on runes before they understand runes. So I would be fine if there was a way to revert a rune, but I would not be okay with being able to gem more than 1 stat. Okay, the attack will not land as a glancing hit if you attack a sleeping enemy. So that is how it is. That is how it is then. Okay, that is how it is. Damage from water, damage by attack, that's kind of... Okay, so it's the first way we're talking about it. Can I unfeed my second Hathor? No, you should feed your first Hathor, bro. Hathor needs to be gone. What do I make of the Mei Hou Wang change? I think it's a buff. I think they were trying... I'm sorry, I think it's a nerf. I think they were trying to buff him, but in my eyes, it's a nerf. Now, the thing is, losing the resistance... So there's two separate things going on here. First of all, they give him the increasing speed, but he doesn't strip. Like, he doesn't have the Dark Monkey S2 or anything. So he doesn't set himself up. So the reduction to his recovery is kind of fine, because he's going to take more turns. As his speed increases, he takes more turns, so the reduction recovery balances with the speed increase. But he doesn't do speed scaling damage, and he doesn't set himself up, so you can no longer speed tune him to put him behind defense breakers, which means he actually has to put him behind strippers. So if you can't speed tune him to put him behind strippers, then you've actually reduced the value of the defense break on his skill too. And so to me, that in itself is already, that in itself is enough. He is a nerf, and he doesn't do any kind of speed scaling damage, so the extra speed doesn't benefit him. He doesn't have any kind of like ignore defense like the way the surfers do. So the extra speed doesn't actually benefit him. And then they took away the resistance buff, so now what mostly happens is, for his type of build, depending on how you use him, I prefer him on max resistance, and so in the current situation, you can use him with no resistance and let that resistance build up, but once the change comes into effect, you have to actually build him on resistance, so he becomes just as stat hungry as Xing Zhe, which means he's going to be too hard to rune properly for a lot of players. And the speed scaling actually puts him out of turn order. I feel like it's a nerf. I think they were trying to buff him, but I feel like it's a nerf. He's a unit that I actually really enjoyed using in Siege offense, and in Guild War offense. I probably wouldn't be able to use him in APOC anymore. Anyway, I think I was probably just rune gapping a little bit with that offense, or maybe not rune gapping, but like I don't know if he would be as good in. Once you're in top 5 Siege, but I had a lot of fun with that comp that I used him in, and I can't use him in that comp anymore. He doesn't make sense in that comp now. So yeah, I really did not like the change to Mei Hou Wang. I thought it was a very bad change, but we'll see. A lot of these things too, you know, we're just reading them right now, and we haven't actually seen them in the game. So that's a big thing to keep in mind, is that once we see them in the game, the application could be very, very different. You know, you have to test them with other monsters. For example, Mei Hou Wang could pair really well with Elsharian, who actually gains 5 speed, not 5% speed, but Elsharian gains speed as well. So if you get enough of a speed gap there, you might be able to put Mei Hou Wang and Elsharian together. I don't know. I'm sure that there could be some comps where he's useful, but I think it really hurt him more than it helped him overall. What up, Sergio? How you doing, man? Just a reminder, by the way, guys, if you're enjoying the stream, if you like the kind of chill streams, smash that like button. Let's try and get a larger stream, get a little bit more Q&A stuff going on, stuff like that. I know artifact powering up is probably not going to be the most entertaining stream of the month. We'll do a little bit more than artifact powering up. I built a new Steel Fortress team yesterday. The video on that's coming out tomorrow, but I will tell you it's not going to help most people since it uses Cadiz. But it is a fun team, and it cut about 15 seconds off my Steel Fortress time. And now I've got a lot of monsters that are busted up, and I need to fix them also. What unit would I most want to see buffed? I mean, that's a very, like, prejudicial question, because obviously I'm going to choose one of my bad LD5s. So Laura is the worst of my LD5s, but any buff that they gave to Laura still would not make her really usable for me, because she doesn't fit my playstyle. Kraka, I think, probably needs a lot more than they would be willing to give her to make Kraka good. So I'd like to see Kraka buffed, but same deal. I think any buff that they gave to Kraka is just not gonna be like, it's not gonna make her a unit I would want to use, because the most likely buff to Kraka would be for them to roll back the nerf. Because they buffed Kraka 3 patches ago, and then I summoned Kraka the next day, and then they nerfed the buff before they ever put her in the game, only because I summoned her. I guarantee you, somebody at Com2Us was monitoring the game logs, and they're like, bro, Sentinel Gamer just summoned a Kraka. We cannot nerf this unit. Sorry, we cannot buff this unit. We cannot buff this unit. But I think if they did buff Kraka, all they would do would be to put back the original buff that they were going to do, which I didn't feel was enough to make her really playable consistently anyway. Because it's still basically just an RNG type thing. So it's a lower activation rate. You know, she has 30% activation rate, skill 2 strip, and they would probably just bring it up to 50. So who would I most like to see buffed? I mean, probably Van Cliff. He still wouldn't really fit my playstyle either. Pontos maybe, but see, if you buff Pontos, he's too strong for turn 1. What would make Geldner a better monster? He needs to do damage. Geldner is really good, but he doesn't do damage the way the other Lightning Emperors do. So give Geldner a skill that allows him to use stacks to do a partial ignore defense. I think that would be really interesting, but you would have to choose the stacks that you use. So I don't know, or maybe he could just only use the, maybe it would just be like, give him the Odin treatment, man. Actually, you know what? That would be a little too strong. That'd be a little too strong, but maybe give him like the Odin concept where his skill 1 ignores partial damage based on his number of stacks, but like not completely ignores damage or something like that. You just need to make Geldner do damage. That's the real issue there. Or how about this? This would make Geldner borderline OP, but actually not completely OP. What if every time Geldner used one of his stacks to heal an ally or himself, he also added 1 turn immunity? So what if every time you hit somebody on your team, Geldner healed you by whatever he heals you by and gives you a 1 turn immunity? That would be interesting. That would be interesting. That would make him playable, but I don't think it would make him broken, because he still doesn't do any damage himself. That would be really interesting. I like that. I don't like that artifact, though. Crit damage subs. So Michael, when you say CD subs, so like this one, own turn one target CD, means that on your own turn you have 2 additional crit damage. As long as you're targeting so when it says 1 target, it means like as long as you're targeting 1 unit. So if it's an AoE skill, you will not get a crit damage bonus, but if it's not an AoE skill, you will. For this one, CD is less enemy HP max. This works on a sliding scale, so if this is 11% CD, you get 11% reverse divided by the enemy's health. In other words, if the enemy is at 50% health, you get 5.5% crit damage bonus. If the enemy is at 100, you get 0. If the enemy is at 0, you get 11. Yeah, so he'd be like a modified version of Amelia. I really don't think he would be broken. I really don't think he would be broken. I think he'd be, I don't even know for sure that he'd be stronger than Amelia. He'd be on par with Amelia, or maybe even a hair behind her. That may even almost not even be enough, but it's definitely where I would start, because you need to make sure it's not broken before you go beyond that. What up, Wolfman? How you doing, bro? What do I think would make Geldner? Okay, answered that. What are my thoughts on the Bulwark Geldner mini buff? Bulwark Geldner mini buff. Honestly, like I read past it so fast, I thought it was totally irrelevant. But let me go take a look at it one more time. I'm pretty sure I just thought it was totally irrelevant, though. Because I can't even remember it, so it didn't leave any kind of lasting impression to me. Oh wait, that's, yeah, no, that's this one. What was it again? So, Mage. Sorry guys, this is gonna stretch the screen, but I can't see it, so it's gonna look weird for a moment. Bulwark Dryad, Demon, where are they? Lightning Emperor, here it is. Gains 1 knowledge if you have 2 or few knowledge of the stat. Yeah, I think, actually, you know what, I take it back. There are some situations where right now, Bulwark could be turned into a dead pick in RTA, and that makes him not be a completely dead pick. But see, here's the thing. Because it only brings you to 2 stacks, I don't think it's enough to really impact either of them. That's why I went past it. If it was just gains 1 knowledge at the start of every turn, I would be a lot more interested by it. But I think just gaining 1 knowledge up to 2 is not going to be that impactful. It stops Bulwark from being a completely dead pick, but is still like a 90% dead pick. So, in those situations that I'm referring to. Obviously, he's a very strong monster most of the time. And then for Odin, I don't think it makes any difference whatsoever. Honestly, I think it makes no difference for Odin. I think for Bulwark, it makes a tiny difference, but overall, it's a nice thing they did, but it's not an impactful thing whatsoever. What up, Leggy? How you doing, bro? I do remember you indeed. Buff any unit. Buff the Light Dragon. I feel like it isn't as big as it used to be and should be clearly able to make your enemies jealous. I mean, he's still pretty good, man. He is, Zerath is still really good, man. I think it said less than 2 fatal errors, so it would move him from 0 to 1 and 1 to 2. It wouldn't get him to 3. I suppose that'll make it a little bit easier to stack Odin, but no, not really. I mean, it'll make Odin stack a little bit faster in longer fights, but yeah, it's still, I just don't see it as, I don't see it as impactful. It could come into play, but it'll come into play so rarely. Coming into play to the level where it actually impacts a fight will be so rare that I just think it's a non-factor. It's a nice thing. I mean, like, it's certainly good for those units, and while Odin didn't need it, Bulwark probably benefits from it. But they're both, oh, if you have 2 or fewer, so it can actually bring you to 3. Only Bulwark Geldner, not Odin. Gotcha. I guess it could come into play for Geldner a little bit, but I kind of stand, I still stand by what I said. I don't see it really being impactful. It's a factor, but I think it's going to be such a small factor it won't be impactful. What up, Noob? How you doing, man? So Hunter, you say, I have Light Mage and she is completely unusable right now. I say, I matched Seishizo in RTA last season. He drafted the Light Mage against me, and I lost the fight specifically because of her. So, I'm going to argue that she's not unusable, because an SWC player matched me in RTA, drafted her against me, and beat me with her, and not just beat me with her, but beat me because of her. She was the reason he won. So I am going to say that the Light Mage is definitely usable and was usable before. With that said, she does have very niche usage. The reason that he beat me in that particular fight, the reason that she allowed him to win that particular fight was that he first picked Oliver, so I moved into like an anti-CC type comp using Volantis, and oh crap, that's Light Onimuji. Yes, Plumdog, you are right, not Light Mage. Bro, okay, I walk that back, man. Yeah, it's Saimai, the Light Onimuji, not the Light Mage. So walk back exactly what I just said. Disregard that. Light Mage, I don't think she's unusable. I know some people that use her on siege offense, but she definitely isn't good enough. She's a monster that you can win either despite of or with, but not because of. So I agree with you. I agree with you. Where is my mana? I never have mana, bro. I never have mana. I bought an FRR ticket yesterday, and I still burned through 20 million mana just maxing runes and artifacts to finish building the team I was building. Yeah, bro, that is such an... I mean, yes, when that happened, it would be frustrating, but that's the equivalent of Diana taking 4 turns in a row. It's busted, it's frustrating, it shouldn't happen, but it also realistically only happens once every, like, 100, 200 times. Like, and even then, the 4 stacks isn't, you know, it still leaves you 1 stack short, but you're talking about such a perfect... storm of events, with him stealing 2 buffs, which means the opponent has 2 buffs to steal, which means that he also, and he was gonna get, so like in that scenario, he was gonna get 2 stacks anyway. And then how often does that extra 2 stacks matter? If you have the ability to get him the 5th stack, you were probably gonna get him to a 6th one, you know, like a virtual 6th one anyway. So it's like, just because he gets those extra stacks doesn't mean he needed them, and then you have to pass the resistance checks, and I could be wrong. I mean, it would not be the first time. I could definitely be wrong, but I just feel like it's not going to be something that comes into play that often, which makes it less impactful. That's the garbage, right? Somebody down here? No. Tony, I did a new Steel Fortress team. I've actually got a video coming out on it tomorrow. It's a short video though, because it uses Cadiz, so it's not going to be a team that many people can copy. Yeah, the Mephisto buff was unnecessary, Wall Street, but it's yeah, I mean, even at Bulwark, so, like, I usually have Bulwark somewhere around 60 accuracy is about where I can get. 50, 60 accuracy is about what I can get with the stats I want. But even if you have an 85 accuracy Bulwark, then he's still gonna get resisted 1 time in 7. And again, a lot of times, if you're playing Bulwark, you're usually playing him in a position where he's getting stacked. So, like, for you to steal, so here's the thing. If the enemy has 2 buffs, that means the Bulwark you have does not have 0 stacks. Because for the enemy to get those buffs, they already stacked your Bulwark. So a more realistic scenario compared to the one that Fatal Error just mentioned is Bulwark with Vio starts with 5 stacks and then uses it and, you know, heals the team and drops the enemy down, and then he Vio procs and steals 1 more stack and finishes with 2 instead of 1. Because he's like, you're not gonna come into many situations where the opponent has buffs for you to steal, but somehow your Bulwark also has 0 stacks. That's a really rare situation to get into. What up, Lewis? How you doing, bro? I do try and do EU friendly most Sundays. Oh, that's awesome, Lucifer. I'm glad you enjoyed that video, man. Oh, man. I like the 10 defense here, but I just don't see much value in this. Oh, now this one's got some interesting potential here. We could just stay with the additional damage. I knew that was going to happen. I knew that was going to happen. That's like the least useful of all artifact substats, too. Yeah, let's just quad roll crit damage taken because it's total trash. Why not? Actually, Noob, there is going to be a follow-up called How to Value Stats, which takes sets into play. Yes, I've already outlined that one. I haven't recorded that one yet, so it's probably about 2 weeks out in the queue. But I've already done most of the prep work on it. The thing is, that one's going to need some more art and stuff, so I did like a spreadsheet, and that one's going to take a little bit more time to do. So that one's probably about 2 weeks out, but it's a work in progress already. This is just a straight-up sell, isn't it? Yeah, that one kind of sucked. Probably should have just stopped that at 9 and saved the mana. I think this one's a sell. I don't know. Yeah. Is there any value in that? There's really not. Those are low rolls, especially the damage on win. Those are low rolls. Yeah, there was no value in that one. Okay. All right. All of this. I should be by power up level. There we go. Okay. All of this is done. This one's a +6. Light artifact. Damage on light. On target crit damage. Yeah, that's a sell also. What's the best cocky artifact? I like attack increasing effect. Lewis, so we're going to Cancun in June, and so she's like, you gotta have long hair in Cancun, and I was like, you're kidding me. We're gonna be in Cancun in June. It's gonna be like 95 degrees plus humidity. I'm not gonna have long hair. And she's like, no, you've gotta have long hair. And I'm like, oh, all right. If I'm gonna have long hair in June, then I'm not gonna have long hair now, so I'm cutting it now. And so I went and cut myself. So I cut my own. I've actually been cutting my own hair since the start of the pandemic. So I just went and cut my hair. And actually my clippers died when I cut my hair, and that's probably a good thing because I prefer to use a 5, and for whatever reason when I bought these clippers it only had a 4. There's actually a potential Diana artifact in there. I don't like the damage on fire, but yeah, so Nick, okay, so yeah, anyway, as far as that goes, I just cut my hair and I was like, fine, I'll grow it out from here, but we're starting over. I'm not growing it that long. Nick, I literally just did a Labyrinth video a week ago that shows auto teams for all the different hell modes. And then I have another much older Labyrinth video that shows manual teams for all the hell modes. And that one's linked through the one from last week. So if you actually go watch the video last week and you see that team uses some like LD4s and some harder to get monsters. So if you go look at the video that was done with the auto teams. The auto teams uses a lot of harder to access monsters. So I would look at that one first, and then if you cannot build those teams, I would go ahead and check the original one, which uses a lot more free-to-play friendly monsters, but requires some manualing. And yeah, Lucifer, I mean, the thing is, bro, I farm enough that I can hold out, like, because I am always struggling for mana, so incremental upgrades on artifacts, it's like just not really worth, it's the time even more than the mana. It's not worth sitting here for 6 minutes plus 15ing an artifact that gives me 1% better. I'd rather just hold out and just keep farming until I get something usable. Or not usable, something good. I already have, the thing is, I already have usable. What I'm now trying to get is OP. So, yeah, it doesn't, but I mean, it doesn't make sense. For runes, it does. So here's the thing, for runes, it totally makes sense. You want to constantly take incremental upgrades. The reason for that is because runes cycle. So when you have a great rune and it replaces a good rune, then the good rune just moves onto another monster. Artifacts don't cycle the way runes do because you only use 2 per monster, and because so many monsters want different types of sub-properties that, you know, you can't cycle them through your entire box the way you can runes, and so it makes a little bit less sense in this case for me to compromise in the middle range with the artifacts. Like, I want a noticeable upgrade, not a tiny upgrade with the artifacts. What can I do to win more inner server defense fights? Inner server defense is tough, man, Sam. You're gonna have to put your best runes on the monsters. You probably want to try and get some destroy sets in there, but at the end of the day, if you don't have some of the more meta inner server defense monsters, it's gonna be tough. Like, there's a handful. So if you have Nagong, for example, you're probably gonna be first in your team no matter what. And if you don't have Nagong, you're probably not gonna be first in your team no matter what. Nagong, Kinky, Molly, Carnal, those are kind of the most meta inner server defense units. And unfortunately, it's more about, depending on your team, it's more about units than runes for inner server. Yeah, Lewis, rushes tonight. Rushes tonight. No, Halphus is not that big of a threat on inner server because they're not rushing. They can take all the time they want. Cocky's also not a huge risk. For the Carnal type teams, you could run a Carnal Praha, but you want something that's probably going to revive. Just let the Carnal's artifact damage do its work. Yeah, so I mean, like, maybe Carnal Praha would be an okay start because you get the strip and you get the Carnal CC. Ideally, just a little bit more, like, just a little bit more sustain there, but also just a revive or death prevention type unit. Vanessa Carnal Praha is just begging to be Zyrost. It's more like a Nana right there. I mean, if you don't have, again, so that's the hard part is it's about having the meta units. Did I roll one? No. It's just not very good though, right? Yeah, it's just not very good. I wish it told me, when you're in the artifact menu, I wish it told you, oh, that's my first loss, guys, in about 1,000 runs. More than 1,000 runs, probably. 2,000 plus runs. That's my first loss with this team. I thought it was 100%. I guess it's like 99.99%. But yeah, I built it yesterday afternoon, and I've been running it around the clock. It always happens. Your first loss will always come on stream. Just so you guys know, if you stream, always expect your bad RNG to come on stream. That's just the way it works. Yeah, Sam. So with no Nana, I'd be more inclined to go with a Vanessa than I would the. I'm sorry. I'd be more inclined to go with a Triana than I would the Vanessa there. Because the Triana will give you just a little bit more. Vanessa's just not very good. Vanessa gives you the speed lead, but that team is so obviously going to be built slow, the speed lead doesn't do anything for you anyway. Yeah, Carnal, Praha, Triana, so that gives you elemental balance. You got one strip, you got double sustain, you have no immunity there. Maybe Wusa. You try like Wusa, Carnal, Praha, Triana. Double water units, it's kind of asking to be Lucianed, but then the Carnal and the Triana would stop the Lucian. I think you're still vulnerable to Poseidon and Zyros there, but I mean, there's only so much you can do. Again, like, if you don't have the meta units. So yeah, maybe something like Wusa, Carnal, Triana, or actually Wusa, Carnal, Juno, Triana. Yeah, Wusa, Carnal, Juno, Triana would be better. But a different stripper in that role, I would still prefer over, I think, either Praha or Juno for that team. this is this good enough? These are some really low rolls too. Yeah, that's not good enough. Carnell, Nana, Triana, Praha. So Carnell, Nana, Triana is a good core. Yeah, Lewis, no, I thought about it. I'm not streaming. It wasn't the unfortunate events. Honestly, the issue there is that if I'm streaming, I have to push up too soon, and then it means I'm showing up on everybody's defense list. It also means I'm spending too much time in G3. So it wasn't so much unfortunate events last time. It was because I streamed it and I pushed up too soon. So I could technically just push up later in the stream, but with the RTA season closed, I didn't have any other content to do. So I would be like starting the stream at like 9:15 and then starting the rush at 9:30 for a 30-minute stream. It didn't make a lot of sense. So I decided to do it off stream this time and see how it goes. Carnell, Nana, Triana. I would still want to so these Carnell, Nana, Triana is a really good starting point. I'd want a different stripper in the place of the Praha, but I would want a stripper there. Carnell, Praha, Yogan doesn't really do much in that team at all. Yeah, because none of those monsters really need the attack buffs. The scroll trap's going to be manipulatable through AI. Yeah, do you have the Wusa though, Sam? Oh, this one's not bad. 13% of attack. Too bad it's on a defense artifact. What's my most used non-LD5, NAT5, and RTA? That would actually be, Riley, but since that's an interesting question, let me go ahead and I will show you my data from last season. Let me just pull up this window here. It's not in that one. It's in this one, right? Apps, we're gonna go SW Arena, and then this needs to go over to here. Do this, turn this on. So here you go, bro. If you look at my pick rate from last season, Nana wound up being my most picked monster, and that probably wasn't a good thing. In G3 though, it's tough. You either have Nana in your draft or you are really screwed. In G2 and below, Nana is not as strong. So what happened to me is I got so used to drafting the Nana in G3 for a long time. When I was staying in G3, what I would actually do is first pick Nana if I matched a G3, and I would first pick Wusa if I matched a G2. And at some point, I got out of that habit and just started only first picking Nana. It actually hurt my win rate a little bit. But you can see, so it was Nana, Riley. The Vertihile is just because you're constantly facing CC. Hey Gang, because you're constantly facing CC, and then you've got the Wusa, the Tessa. You can see my low win rate with the Tessa. Tessa fell out of my rotation at the end of the season, but I dropped her out of dropped him out of rotation a little too late. Bulwark had a really high win rate. The Ethna, so I have a unique build on the Ethna. It's a 340 or 50 speed Ethna. And I used that to try and counter CC, but it obviously wasn't very effective. 45% win rate. The Fang 56 was really solid. The Lulu was solid. The Molong was one of my best win rates. On Taurus, 49% is a pretty bad win rate. Juno was like my worst overall unit. But that gives you an idea of the units that I used. If we look by win rate, Magnum, Chow, but these are both really rarely drafted. They're very niche counters. So Molong was actually the unit that I had the highest win rate with. That was in a fair number of drafts, followed by the Bulwark. Swap only works on PCs, bro, unfortunately. Swap only works on PCs. That's called SW Arena, Prince Edition. SW Arena. It's actually SWArena.gg. I pay it's €5, so it's like $6 a month for the data tracking. Wait, so are you saying tonight is not Rush or it is Rush? Devilin, I guess I would 2A the Sath first because you can use Sath in TOA also. You're gonna need to 2A them both, but I would probably do the Sath first because the Tattoo you're not really gonna use anywhere except your dot team, but the Sath you can use right away in TOA. That's actually a pretty fair point, Scars. That's actually a pretty fair point, because the 8-year scrolls are likely coming out in a couple of weeks, and everybody's going to be going for Oliver. That might explain why they didn't nerf Oliver. Hey, congrats, Lewis. That is not an insignificant accomplishment. That's top 10% of the game. That's actually a very significant accomplishment. Huge congrats, bro. Flanks, I finished G1. I was ranked 1020, so I was 1 point out of G2. But, like, the caveat there is I was safe G2 a whole bunch of times, and I just kept pushing. And, yeah, I mean, I just kept pushing and trying to get, because I wanted my best finish. I've already finished G2. So I wanted to at least get top 500 since I spent most of the season in G3. And instead, what happened was I didn't even have, like, a bad win rate. But because I was right on that edge of G2, I kept matching up with low G1s. So I won more than I lost, but I dropped points on the last day. I think I went 18 and 12 or 17 and 13 on the last day, and actually dropped points because I was like, if I lost, I would lose 9, and if I won, I would get 6. And so I fell out of G2 despite the winning record. But, I mean, like I said, I've already had a G2 finish. I didn't really care about the skin. What I really wanted was a new best finish, and so I went for it. What do I play together with Kraka? Nothing, Scars Hideout. Kraka's not very good. I do have a team that's Pontos, Kraka, Perna, but that team is actually much better if I run it with Pontos, Ethna, Perna, and neither of those teams is really all that great. They're not teams that I'll use in Apocalypse at all. It was just a way for me to try and use my LDs. That was literally it. But Kraka's really not very good, especially on offense. She's okay on defense, but she's such an RNG-based unit. There's no consistency with her on offense, so I would never use her when it really matters. Like if it's like I must win this, I would never use her. Let's see. What up, True Capo? How'd you do, man? How'd you finish the season? Delta, water, fire, wind. Okay, that's solid. Hey, Davey, if you're on stream, thanks for the sub, bro. Guys, if anybody else is on stream and has not subbed, please go ahead and consider subscribing. Very much appreciated, guys. So today is D1 of qualifiers, and it's next week. What up, Pikas? How you doing, bro? I can clear GB12 with my current team, Verofrank, Crow, and Shannon, but some of them aren't 6-star yet. Yeah, so Devilin, I mean, that's all part of progression. The first thing you need to do is be able to clear it. The second thing you need to be able to do is clear it faster, and then faster and faster. Ultimately, your goal is to be able to speed farm those teams. Because Summoner's War, at the end of the day, Summoner's War is truly just a game of scale. It's, so like there's an old saying, I forget now, it was a big streamer who said it long before my time. But basically, Summoner's War is a marathon, not a sprint. And so you want to be able to, you know, build up your account over time. And the more you can farm, the more you're going to be able to build it up. So like if you look, even on my own account, I spent all day yesterday building a new team for Steel Fortress so that I could have a better average time in it. And I was able to increase it by about 10 seconds. So Prince Edition, Kraka, what they did with Kraka 2 or 3 balance patches ago they announced a buff for Kraka that she would have a 50% chance to strip on her skill 2. And then the next day I summoned Kraka, and the day after that they changed it to a 30% chance to strip on her skill 2. So they partially rolled back the buff the day after they announced it, and she was like the only monster that they changed from like when they announced the balance patch to when it went live. Hey Lucifer, have a good one, bro. Thanks for hanging out on stream, man. Or Rune. Let's see, enjoying some free time. That's awesome, bro. Capo, that's a fair excuse then, man. That's a fair excuse. Seriously, like, that's some scary stuff going on. So, please be safe. I mean, I know it's not all in your control, but please be safe. We will be, you know, hoping you get back, back home safe and quickly, bro. Seriously, man. Oh yeah, can't do that, okay. What is this? Darkness. There's no value in this, is there? No. I don't know if I would call it the worst one ever, but it's awfully close. There's a couple that rank lower in my all-time bad balance patch list, but this is in the worst 3. This one is in the worst 3. There's like nothing impactful. They didn't nerf Oliver. It was just bad. It's a bad patch. Yeah, no worries, Prince. So the Nana nerf, this is just my idea, but because I do agree, I think Nana needs a. It's technically a nerf, but I'd call it more of a tweak. I don't think she needs a big nerf. I think Nana's only got a balance issue in G3 RTA. I think she's fine in Siege. She's a strong monster, but her kit is necessary in the game. That's the thing. We can't like lose her kit. It's too important for overall game balance. So what I would like to see for Nana is for them to make it so that she cannot gain an orb before she has taken a turn. So she starts with 1 orb, but she cannot gain an orb before she cannot gain another orb before she takes a turn, so that gets rid of some of those like busted, fast turn 1.5 snipe teams that are designed to build a 6-on-3 advantage. Still a 5-on-3 advantage, but I think that's still a big difference. What would you recommend if you lost focus over anything in the game? What would you recommend if you lost focus over anything in the game? Picus, I'm sorry, I don't fully understand that question. There will be a rise of fire robo use. I'll be honest, I read through the robos pretty quickly, and I don't remember his specific buff. What up, Gergo? Shout out to the UK, shout out to London, man. That's awesome, bro. I was supposed to be in London last April before the pandemic hit. Well, it was actually 2 years ago now. Wow, 2 years ago next month. And I completely lost, CD is more enemy HP. This is usable for Odin, actually. This is pretty good for Odin. Okay. Yeah, I completely lost everything on those flights because I was scheduled in Norwegian, who then went into bankruptcy, and yeah, anyway. But I do hope to get back to Europe sometime in the next, well, yeah, I've been to Europe only once. I've never been to London, but I hope to get to Europe sometime in the next year or two now. And hopefully get to England or the UK sometime in the next year or two. Yeah, I mean, I like the revive style because it prolongs fights. I like longer fights. So that obviously, we're on the same page with that, Yamatsu. I've only been to Paris, so I've actually, in my life, I've booked 5 trips to Europe. 4 of them were in my 20s with friends, and every time they got canceled because somebody didn't have money. So then in my 30s, I went to Paris on just like a spur-of-the-moment thing. I was dating a girl, and I was like, oh, you know, in the movies, they always go to Paris for like a romantic trip, and I've always wanted to go to Europe, so screw it. It was like on a Monday, and I was like, hey, you want to go to Paris on Saturday? And she's like, yeah, okay. So we went to Paris for a week. And then that's it. I've been to Paris for a week, and we stayed stayed on the outskirts of Paris. So I saw a little bit more of the outskirts. I can't remember the name of the area right now. If I looked at it on a map, I would know it. But that's it. That's the only place I've been to in Europe. So 2 years ago, I was supposed to spend 4 days in the UK, 8 days in the Netherlands, and 4 days in the UK, 8 days in the Netherlands, a day in Liechtenstein, a day in Brussels, and a day in Germany, I think was the trip. It was going to be an awesome trip. I was really looking forward to that one. I've got a buddy who lives in the Netherlands, and yeah, I had everything all set up, and I was like, I booked it out months in advance. That one I was like, screw it. I bought everything. I'm like, I'm just going. No tours, none of this. We're just making this happen. And then the pandemic happened, and I lost like most of what I got my hotel money back, and I lost everything else. I lost the trains, I lost the airfare, all that stuff. Do I think Narsha would be fast enough for turn 1.5 on 150? So, Caleb, if you mean plus 150, yes. If you mean 150 total, no. But I assume you mean plus 150. That sounds plenty fast enough for a turn 1.5. With the speed lead, you'll outspeed most bruiser teams. If not, yeah, well, most. That's a fair statement. Jason, that sucks, bro. Even with, well, your LD5s aren't like great defense. I don't know what you're applying for either, though. Were you just like applying for like Mali SSA, or where were you trying to go? Have so many issues building teams for any PvP content because I don't know what it should. Oh, got it. But I should focus on farming Swift runes for Arena, Violent for other PvP content, etc. Okay, that actually does make sense. I follow you now, Pika. So you're asking me in terms of progression how you should focus. So I don't know exactly your stage of game, but I will tell you that most people, the thing they do is they ignore raiding. And so if you have not been doing R5, my example for you, you're talking about Swift runes for Arena, right? The runes you have right now, if you put hero grinds on all of those runes, you gain 20 speed. If you farm giants for a month or 2 months, you might gain 20 speed, but probably not. You probably farm giants for 2 months and you might gain 3 speed or 4 speed. But if you go farm R5, you'll gain 20 speed because you put 4 speed per rune on every rune except the slot 2. So depending on where you stand in the game, without seeing your account, obviously it's awfully difficult to be specific here, but most people, where they lack more than anything else is from farming raid, and even if you can't do R5, doing R3 is perfectly fine. Like, blue grinds give you +6, hero grinds, purple grinds give you +7. So R3 drops greens and blues with the occasional hero and legend. R5 drops blues and heroes with the occasional legend. You don't need legends with early game runes, you just need to get them grinded up to +5, +6, +7, and that's definitely going to help your progression a lot. So that's the first thing I would say, is make sure you're spending enough time in R5. And then after that, make sure you're taking advantage of artifacts. If you can't do a high-level artifact dungeon, do a low-level artifact dungeon and just get the free 3000 HP or 200 attack or whatever from the flat stats. And then beyond that, what it honestly comes down to is a decision of the playstyle that you like. So for example, someone like myself, I basically am a turn 2 player. I don't like turn 1. Now I do have some really fast runes because I farm a lot, and I've gotten some good Swift runes over time. So I have some fast runes, and for Arena offense I use those fast runes. Outside of Arena offense I almost never do. So all of my farming has been focused in Dragons and Necro because that provides more of a balance to my overall account. And so what I tell people is if you want to be a turn 1 player, then you need to live in Giants. If you want to be a turn 1.5 player, you need to live in Dragons. And if you want to just have the ability to do it all, then you should spread your farming out between the 3 dungeons equally. Hopefully that helps, Picas. What does turn 1.5 mean in RTA? So Davey, turn 1.5 is my term. That's my own term. I don't know that anybody else uses it. But to me, it's just basically playing very fast Vile or Despair. So it means you're trying to take turn 1 against people that are in the same rune sets as you, so you're sacrificing stats. So for example, if you run a 280 Vio set, and you may not be able to, like whatever your fastest Vio set is, but if you run your fastest Vio set, so for me it's about 290, I think 293 is my fastest Vio. So if I, or plus, I should say plus 193. Plus 193 is my fastest Vio. So if I run that set, I give up a crap ton of other stats. I have less HP, less defense, less everything because there's so many rolls that went into speed that all the other stats suffer. But if I run 293 Vio, I will outspeed everybody in Vio and everybody in Despair, but I will still be outsped by the people running Swift, because a plus 193 Swift set is garbage at Guardian level. That's like an awful set at Guardian level. And so it's basically, turn 1.5 is running really fast Vio or Despair and sacrificing stats in exchange for taking turn 1 against the Vio Despair players, but accepting that you'll be outsped by the Swift players. Damage from water, yeah, this is like... yeah, Mucho, I could show you that. I think I've done more runs in Fire Rift Beast than Giants. Don't overdo it with the fight runes, bro. Don't overdo it with the fight runes. But with regards to Solo R5, is there a branding team that would work, including Windstriker? So Lewis, I actually am using the Windstriker in my Solo R5 team right now. Wow, second one. So yeah, there you go, guys. The team hadn't lost in a day and a half. So here you go. This is the branding team I use with the Windstriker. I will say, so I've changed his spot out a few times. I keep changing the spot out when I need other monsters. So the fastest monster in this spot was Ken. And then after Ken, I used the Wind Homunculus, who was also a little faster. Shiwa was a little slower. The Wind Ryu works here though. He's not as good as some of the others, but he does work here. So that is the branding team that I use. That's the overall Solo R5 team I'm using right now. There's the build that I've got him on as well. Okay, so if you want to see a fast rune Swift monster, the best one that I would be able to show you at the moment would be the Ethna. So this would be my Ethna. Now, when I run the Ethna, I run her without a speed lead. I use Ethna's own crit lead. So that's why she's got 67 crit rate. So it's actually 100 crit rate Ethna that runs at 349, but does not have a speed lead. So the actual combat speed on this Ethna is 367. So she's, well, in RTA ticks are different, but outside of RTA, she'd be a 4-tick unit. Side text, I'll be honest, no. Just to be blunt, no. I saw nothing in the patch that really looked interesting or exciting. I mean, Coco might be usable in RTA, might be a little bit more useful in RTA now, that's about it. Here's my Molong build. I can just kind of flick through some of these now. Kinky, who I did not use basically at all this season, and he's got one of my best sets. He'll probably get de-runed next season. He really just isn't good in RTA. The Abellio build's nothing special. Savannah build, I didn't really use Savannah. She's going to get de-runed as well. Actually, we'll go ahead and just de-rune the Savannah now. We'll go ahead and de-rune probably... Well, Savannah's definitely getting de-runed. Kinky, whether he gets de-runed or not, is not going to have that good of a rune set. So, but the Savannah was just an experiment that did not work. So we'll take the Savannah out completely. I do. It's very old, Marcel, and it doesn't talk about RTA. But if you search my channel for something called speed tuning, that should find the video at the. It's the last 5 minutes of that video where I talk about ticks. Here's the Beelzebub build, and then here's the Julian build. So these two were in my core. Julian runs 76 crit rate, because a lot of times I would draft a 24 crit rate lead with him, and then when I did not, he still gets the 30% crit rate on his S2 anyway. So the S1, you know, crits only 3 times out of 4 without the crit rate lead, but the S2, which is what matters, was fine. Here's the Diana build. Not my strongest Diana build. I didn't really use Diana very much. Actually, Feng Yang probably has like one of my best overall builds. I think the Feng probably has the best build right here. So this would be like maybe my best RTA build, I think. Carnell's build is crap. The Fuki actually can get de-runed, as can the Mei Hou Wang. Mei Hou Wang was getting de-runed even before he got nerfed, but now he's definitely getting de-runed. He also was just on a quick manual build that I actually did on a stream when I was skirmishing with Patty Source. So the Mei Hou Wang build wasn't a proper build either way. And then the Fuki, same thing. The Fuki was not a proper build. This was done manually while I was on stream, and it was done in like less than 2 minutes. So neither of those builds are ones that really were like run through the optimizer or anything. Take you out, and then where's the other one? I took out Mei Hou Wang, right? Mei Hou Wang can go away. The Antares build is not bad. The Antares build's not bad. Do I have any thoughts on Hertite for RTA? I've been using it with Dusky and Wusa. So Gibbler, Hertite is really strong in RTA, but because I don't have him, I don't actually have a... Because I don't have him, I can't really give you like great comps with him. I know a lot of times people run him with... A lot of times people run him with like Odin and then a multi-stacking team, but yeah, without having him, it's hard for me to give you good advice because I've never used him on any account either. I think the Elsharian also can get beat here. Elsharian was actually an optimizer build, but it was a bad build. It never really quite worked out. I only ruined him so that I could steal him when other people were showing me the Elsharian cleave, but that was kind of brief. The Elsharian cleave went away for the most part. Do I buy dimensional whole energy from the shop? I do. I definitely do, bro. Not saying everybody should. I'm not free to play, but I personally do. What units do I use with Fang? I use them a lot with Molong, Wusa, and Julien. Bulwark's buff is that when he has 2 or fewer stacks, he will actually stack himself once per turn now. So he can give himself a couple of stacks, he can't get himself all the way up to 5. Man, I don't think I've ever seen like a legend artifact that actually looked good when it dropped. I've never seen a legend artifact that had synergized sub-properties. However, this is going to be my new Fang artifact. We're going to quad roll additional damage by defense. Right here, baby! No, we're not. Oh well. 16 is still possible. 16 would upgrade one of my Fangs. Okay, 15. 15 would upgrade a Fang. Especially the defense plus proportional's not here yet. Not bad, but I mean the other two, the damage dealt on fire, honestly not bad for Fang either because I do take him into fire units a lot. He's really good against units, you wouldn't think this, but he's really good against units like Douglas. Because he does so much true damage. His passive gives true damage and the artifact damage is true damage, so he can kind of wreck a Douglas. And then when he puts up the counterattack, the Douglas can't really go into him. So even though he's got element disadvantage, he's a great counter to Douglas. But it turned into kind of a crappy artifact. We'll keep it. Maybe I'll have a use for it in the future, but right now it doesn't look very good. Okay, damage taken from water. Yeah, this one's bad. What is considered fast in G3? G3 RTA, G3 Arena, G3 Siege, Caleb, because those are all different things. Ebu, drop in the member chat. 2 months as a channel member, says, hey XG, fancy doing a 10-minute summoning session for me. 10-minute summoning session. The question is, am I going to open the floodgates if I do that? But since you asked me through member chat, all right, we can do a 10-minute summoning session. We can do a 10-minute summoning session. Question is, though, we're about 20 days away from the 8-year scrolls. There's probably a fair to good chance that they're going to bring in some new monsters when they do bring in the 8-year scrolls. Are you sure you want to do a summon session today and not wait for those extra 3 weeks before the 8-year scrolls and the new monsters come out? That'd be my guess. I mean, there's no guarantee there's new monsters coming out, but it's a pretty strong guess. When the 8-year scrolls come out, they're obviously going to want people to buy those packs. So yeah, I personally would wait. They haven't announced anything yet, J-Lo, but it's all about money, right? So they're going to be like if you go look at the 8-year event, right? So if you go just look at the 8-year event right here, 8th anniversary D-Day event. So it shows us D-20. 20 days left till the 8th anniversary. So yeah, the thing is, 8-year scrolls are going to come out just like the 7-year scrolls did last year. I still say 7-year scrolls were the worst thing that ever happened in this game. The 8-year scrolls will only amplify that mistake, but they can't go back on it either. Once they did the 7-year scrolls last year, they're obviously going to do the same thing for 8-year scrolls. And then when they do the 8-year scrolls, they want people to buy them. So they're going to introduce some sort of new monsters to get people to buy them. Somebody earlier on stream said, and I think this was a really good point, that it's probably why Oliver didn't get nerfed. Same reason. They need a couple of busted units out there for people to summon for. Morgan, in Arena, I don't think the Light Robo is that good because he has a low base speed and because it's a 3v4. So definitely Kabila. I don't think either of them is all that good. Kabila is niche. You need to have some crazy runes to make Kabila work because it's hard to tune. It's hard to tune your whole team with Kabila because Kabila really does nothing. But between the two that you listed, because you said just pick between those two, I would take Kabila. I actually don't think Light Robo has any use whatsoever. If they changed Light Robo to Awaken into Speed, I think he would have some use. But right now, it's just a monster that suicides and does nothing and has a low base speed. So I don't think he really has any value. All right, cool, Evu. Yeah, I would definitely... I'll tell you what, Evu. Hold them, and what we'll do is probably after the 8 years come out, I'll do like an open summon stream where I'll just summon for everybody on stream who wants me to summon for them. Well, for a certain amount of hours. We'll do a queue, and if I can, we'll do like a 4-hour summon stream where I'll summon for people on stream for 4 hours, and we'll do it all in order. But Evu, so you can remind me of this. I guarantee that you'll be in that queue. So we'll do your summons on stream after the 8 years come out. Just remind me. What up, Morel? How you doing, man? Dude, 2K. That's gonna be a session. So, Morel, definitely you're gonna want to hold off for the for the new monsters. Next round of new monsters to come out. So, Alex, the reason 7-year scrolls were bad. All right. So here's the thing. Summoner's War, what I have always said makes Summoner's War so amazing is that every monster has its counters and its checks and its balances. And part of what makes it, honestly guys, this is a freaking mobile game. And it's the most complicated game that I've ever played in terms of the amount of knowledge that you need for the interactions of the different skills and the counters and everything else. It's an amazingly complex game that is, despite its it has some really glaring issues. Oliver is busted, for example. But for the most part, it's a pretty balanced game. For the size of this game, they've done a good job of balancing it, other than some, like I said, some really stupid stuff like Oliver. It's a pretty balanced game. It's incredibly complicated strategy. But, what made Summoner's War work was the scarcity of monsters, because we were all forced to be creative within our own boxes. Once they brought out the 7-year scrolls, and you could pick your own Nat 5s, and I know, like, so for somebody like Mitchell, who got nothing, which really sucks, the 7-year scrolls didn't help him. But there were lots of people who got lucky with the 7-year scrolls on free-to-play scrolls. There were lots of people who wailed on the 7-year scrolls and got those couple of key units they needed. And what happened is, it created less diversity within the game and less diversity within the meta. Because, for example, in the season that 7-year scrolls came out, if you had Changpeng, Water Ryu, and Yogun, then you were pretty much guaranteed to make at least G1 that season. So everybody went out with the 7-year scrolls and just got that exact grouping of monsters. And you no longer had to be creative and thinking, well, I've got Chung who's OP, but I don't have Ryu and Yogun. Who else can I use to make this work? And then you got into RTA and you're like, well, I know I'm countering Chung, Water Ryu, Yogun every single fight, so I need to specifically have Heigang and a double Revenge Verd and XYZ. And every RTA fight became literally the exact same draft. And we lost all the creativity and diversity of the game. So I've had terrible luck with summoning over the years. I've spent a lot of money, so I have most of the monsters now because I've spent a lot of money. But over the years, my summoning luck has been pretty bad. And I always just kept telling myself that if the summoning was easier, then there'd be no reason for me to keep playing. Because, like, if everybody had everything, then it just wouldn't be the game that it was. So I actually always respected the fact that it was difficult to get new units. And I think they made it too easy with the 7-year scrolls to get very specific units that took away a lot of the diversity of the game. Just my thoughts there. When is the next time I go on accounts and optimize RTA? So I don't really do RTA optimization on stream because that is a really long thing. I do some account servicing where I'll do RTA optimizations, but on stream mostly what I do is optimize the box. So I do a community help stream twice a month, once for members, once for everybody else, and sometimes I'll do a third one if I have time. But I always try and do twice a month. And on the community help streams, if you win the drawing, then I will help you pick your box and I'll give you some thoughts on how to rune the monsters. But as far as actually optimizing it, that's usually like a 10-hour process. Even without all of the distractions of stream and everything else, it can take a good 10 hours to build a box from scratch, a 25 monster box. So that I really only do through account servicing. Compounded the problem for people that were unlucky with the scrolls. Now you're more likely to face... Yeah, see, I agree with that as well, Cytex. I would agree with that as well. Although, obviously, then that just brings in, like, compounds the problem for people who are unlucky with LDs as well. So, or it's the same problem for people who are unlucky with LDs. Allows people with good runes and bad luck to get mons they need. So, Caleb, I would agree with that. But I would just point out again, so I would have rather seen the 7-year scrolls give you higher rates. I love the idea of the Ancient Transcendent scroll. I just think that they shouldn't have made it so that you could specifically get groupings of monsters that when paired together are broken as a group. So for example, even when Yogan was OP, like in the meta, I actually said, and I hated that season more than any other season. I hated that season. But I always said Yogan didn't need a nerf, Chung didn't need a nerf, Water Ryu didn't need a nerf. The existence of the 3 of them together made all 3 of them broken, but no one of those monsters in a vacuum was broken. The problem was when you paired them all together, and that's the issue with a lot of different comps out there. Because when you duplicate the same skills, you take away whatever benefit you have from accuracy resistance checks. So if you run 3 or 4 strippers that all have pushback, then yeah, maybe the opponent can get a lucky strip, but if you have at max accuracy, that's it. A lucky resist rather, but that's it. If you have 3 or 4 strippers, then the opponent's not going to be able to resist 3 or 4 times when you have max accuracy. So it's all that duplication that creates an issue. So if they had just done something like more Ancient Transcendent scrolls, I think it would have been better for the game, and people still would have been happy because they would have gotten new units. They just wouldn't have had that ability to get the specifically busted. Even if they did something like an Ancient Transcendent scroll where you could pick your unit type, HP, support, whatever. I mean, just something that wasn't as specific as it was, I think would have been better for the game. Double-edged sword then, high-level players got repetitive games, newer. Yeah, so Alex, that's why, and so Alex, for that exact same reason is why I said I think something like Ancient Transcendent scrolls or whatever would have been the way to go, because then you still make it so that newer players can get the stuff, can get useful stuff. It just shouldn't have been as specific. Jolo, Water Ryu got nerfed 1 or 2 seasons ago, where they changed his attack bar absorb activation rate and his strip exact activation rate from 40 to 30%. It was a pretty minor nerf because he goes 3 times. Didn't really change a whole lot with him. He's still pretty much in the meta. It knocked him off of siege defense. It knocked him off of siege defense because his AI already wasn't very good. So once he became a slightly less reliable unit, he wasn't good enough for siege defense, but it didn't change much for him in RTA, which is ironic because the nerf was targeting him in RTA and not in siege defense. Yeah, XG, that's XG, there you go, XG. XHey, maybe XHey, so it doesn't sound the same. But yeah, XHey, that's basically what I've been calling for a while as well on Kraka, is so that the S3 would be usable, because that's what makes Kraka so weak, is like, Ethna's S3 is already probably better than Kraka's S3. Kraka's S2 is slightly better than Ethna's, because it has the strip chance, but it's not reliable. But yeah, why would you ever use Kraka when you could use Ethna in the same situation? Ethna will be better than Kraka in every draft. Rocky will be better than Kraka in most drafts too. Okay, CD plus additional damage dealt on water. We can take this for the water. I think if they made us that we needed to farm for those scrolls, then it might offset the OP potential. I don't know, Caleb. Again, just the existence of the scrolls, however you get them, people will spend the time. I mean, if you had to farm for them, people will spend the time. I mean, that's the point of this game. It's a grinder's game. We're all grinders, right? Just tuned in. Any tips for artifacts? I mean, what to look out for and what to trash? Much love. Hey Thespian, how you doing? So as you can see, basically what I'm looking for, additional damage artifacts, obviously damage dealt on or reduced by specific elements. And then anything that triple or quad rolls is usually useful. Accuracy, recovery, and then crit damage also can all be really useful if they triple or quad roll. Generally speaking, I'm at a point now, I've farmed enough artifacts that I'm mostly looking for artifacts that synergize or high triple roll or quad roll with kind of the sub-properties I talked about. So like this one right here, if it rolls speed again, we'll keep it. If it doesn't roll speed, if it rolls life drain, we sell it. If it rolls speed again, we keep it. If it max rolls damage dealt on water, we probably keep it. If it rolls crit damage as less enemy HP, we probably sell it. That's kind of like where I'm at the moment. Because the additional damage by speed rolls were pretty good. A max double roll is 120, so these are high rolls right here. These are low rolls though. So the damage dealt on water, that's yeah, so there you go. So this just turned into basically a meh rare artifact for me, because the life drain I can convert, but then I have the CD is less enemy HP, which to me I view as that is completely useless. More enemy HP I like, less enemy HP I really don't. It's really only good for a monster like Water Chun-Li, for example, who I don't use, and probably never will. The additional damage by speed is not good enough because there's no other additional damage on the artifact, and then the additional damage by water is not good enough because it's low rolls. So for my account, that turned into a sell, but it could have been a keep. If we had like 150 damage by speed, or if we had 14% damage by water, either of those would have made it a keep. Can I show my solo R5 team again? Could one of the mods drop the link to the solo R5 video in chat for Nicholas? So Nicholas, I did actually do a complete video on that team. The only thing that's changed since the video is that I changed out the Hung Yun, which is the fire fire string master. I changed her out for Wahi, which is the fire sky dancer. So after Wahi got buffed, I changed out the Hung Yun. But otherwise, it's pretty much the same team. The Ken that was in there now is a Wind Ryu, only because I needed Ken for siege defense, but any Brander works just fine in that role, and Ken actually worked better. I did not add Cadiz to the solo yet, Plum Dog. I will be adding him to the solo because he's now built for Steel Fortress. I was originally going to use him for PvP because he's really fun, but once I decided to use him for Steel Fortress, it made sense to put him into the solo. The thing is, I may have some speed tuning issues, so I didn't just drop the build straight in yet. Also, his crit rate maybe... Well, his crit rate lead would work in Steel Fortress. No, it wouldn't, because that's a dungeon lead. Yeah, so his crit rate may be too low. I may have to tweak his build a little bit. Thoughts on Deborah? I have not really played around with her. Deborah's the dark one, right? Or is Deborah the water one? I kind of mixed them up. The Hammer Girls as a group have been mostly underwhelming. Very interesting concept. I like what they tried to do with them. I feel like it just didn't work out. Yeah, I feel like the kits didn't work together. Okay, so the dark one, I know the dark one is... Did that work, Jason? Hey, that did work. Awesome. Thank you for setting that up, Jason. Nicely done. Okay, this is pretty OP. Who do I use that's water that would need a co-op? Belial maybe. This is a really nice roll right here. Yeah, that's definitely gonna be my highest water co-op. Let's see here. Obviously, water twins. Here is the solo R5, but there you go. Oh, Ikaru. There we go. No, but that was an HP artifact, right? That was an HP artifact. Anyway, there's the solo R5 team. The video will take you through the whole builds. Ikaru that's like 100 let's see, 2388. They're all like right on the edge. 2386, 2422. Might be able to get his defense up. That's a big upgrade. Can I get his defense up anywhere? No, not there. Yeah, Plum Dog, I was trying not to show up because the video is coming out tomorrow. I was being greedy. I wanted you guys to actually watch the video. But yeah, we'll take a look at it. Can I? No, I don't have the legend here, but I might be able to get that one up later. Come on, baby. Give me the 10! No, okay. Yeah, I'd have to change the Rune, man. He's going to be short, right? What's the... Anybody remember the... Anybody remember the minimum? It's like 23... Minimum defense for an Ikaru. $23.81. Oh yeah, so he's... Yeah, I'd have to change. Let's see. What if we do this? That gets me there, right? That's 2390, but it busts my speed. Can I get the speed in? Yeah. Do I have a speed gem here? Only immemorial. I'm not using that, right? No. But this would do it. This would do it, and it would allow me to use that artifact, right? So we just have to gem in the speed. Also, I think this messes up my solo R5, so I'll mess with that later. Yeah, I'll mess with that later. Okay. So I did a few different builds. I spent about half the day yesterday working on this team. I tried a few different interesting things. I tried one with Galleon that was really fast. There's a Crow version of this team that works pretty well as well. The Rauk one though seems to be a little bit more stable. The Crow one does have like a slight fail rate in there. Also, the Crow one can get tied up on the waves sometimes. The Rauk one never really gets tied up on the waves. Ooh, see, a lot of times I'll get the boss killed right there, too. It just depends on the team-ups, unfortunately. I tried this with A-Star as well. It just didn't work with the A-Star. The A-Star just didn't do enough damage. Ooh, Crow's missing an artifact. Yeah, I have to clean up because I moved so much stuff around yesterday too. I definitely have to clean up. A lot of monsters are missing artifacts. Some of them are actually monsters I use in other dungeon teams and stuff too. Thank you, Rob. Thank you. Yeah, I pulled them about a week ago. So we'll be doing some, we'll definitely be doing some 5 vamp RTA coming up. Go up damage 4%. Nah. Okay. What do we need here? Damage dealt on wind, right? Yeah. 6% on wind, that's trash. Look at this. That's trash. I guess this will work. Yeah, he needed more damage there. I actually got the scar, but I didn't get the kill. That was partly though, that was just the setup, because I had the one with defense and I was a little late. But you can see the crow right now is in double will. That's why the damage was low. So when I was trying the crow in this team, he would get stunned too often, and since he was acting last, he needed the double will. Actually, it changes up my R5 build too. I need to put him back into rage for R5. But yeah, so for this team, the crow does need to do. For this team, the crow does need to be in double will. Rob, so I have been on a streak. I have been beating the odds, but one thing to keep in mind is I summon about 100 LD scrolls a month because I'm not free to play. And so although I'm beating the odds, it's probably not as crazy as it looks. Like, I've pulled 7 LD5s in 14 months, and I've probably summoned 1,400 LD scrolls in that time. So the odds are 300 to 1, and I'm doing about 200 to 1 over the last 14 months. But I also summoned no LD5s in my first 1,500 scrolls and 1 LD5 in my first 2,000. So overall, I've probably summoned 3,500 LD scrolls, something like that. I don't know exactly, obviously. And in the 3,500 scrolls I've summoned, I've pulled 8 LD5s, so I'm way behind odds overall. I'm actually like 4 LD5s short on the odds. CK, there really weren't many winners in the balance patch, to be honest. The losers were everybody who plays the game. It was a terrible balance patch, man. Terrible patch. And I won't call it a balance patch because there was no balancing. It was just a terrible patch. Oliver, I guess, is the biggest winner because he didn't get nerfed, and he should have been. Nana should have had a small nerf, and she didn't get nerfed. For some reason, Mei Hou Wang got nerfed. In my opinion, it's a nerf. He doesn't benefit from being faster because he doesn't do any self-setup. So it actually makes it harder to use him because he messes up speed tuning and stuff like that, and he loses his resistance stacking. So for whatever reason, they just randomly nerfed Mei Hou Wang, even though he wasn't doing anything in particular. They left Oliver alone, even though he's stupidly broken. And they really didn't make anything all that interesting. Yeah, the bot is definitely on, Lewis. Bot's definitely on. So, I mean, there's a couple of little tweaks here and there. For the most part, it's just not that intriguing, though. I do know, Tony. I do know. I share most things publicly. That's where I'll draw a line, though. Nora, did I miss that one? Unbeneficial. She provokes. Does she already have a stun built in and I just, because I don't have her, so maybe I didn't know that she's stunned because I don't have her. I thought she just gave you dots on the passive and she's got to provoke. Removes all beneficial effects, yeah. I'm not seeing the AoE CC. Oh. Okay. That's fair. You said, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, I think Nora's interesting. Nora's a winner. I don't know if I believe she does enough. For example, I think Sagar is still going to be a better unit than Nora. Because of the amount of damage he does and because of the defense breaks and stuff like that, even though he does an AoE strip. Because these days you really can't run just one AoE stripper anyway, and Nora doesn't provide enough overall sustain to provide the support role, and yeah, I don't know if I feel like Nora's kit fits together well enough, honestly. I think people will try her out, and I think she may wind up being good. She's definitely a winner of the patch, I'll agree with you on that. It's a nice buff, but I don't know if I think it's enough or not. Like, she's hard countered by Tetra, for example. So, maybe. She's pretty hard countered by Molly, too, and I'm not even a big fan of Molly. But Molly would probably do enough to deal with Nora. Plus, you need Nora in max res and max accuracy, so she'd be kind of hard to run. If you didn't have her in max res, yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that one. She's interesting. She's interesting. We really need to see what she looks like in the game. I pulled Cadiz Vantis about a week and a half ago. Mucho. So the thing is, it's the same issue: attack bar or attack speed. Either way, it turns him out of turn order. I mean, he already got a 50% attack bar boost, so he was already getting out of turn order. To be fair, no, he doesn't. No, what am I talking about? That's Zing Zay. Oh wait. No, he gets 50% attack bar. No, he doesn't. He just gets the heal, right? His skill 2 is defense break and heal. It's the Zing Zay that gets out of order. Yeah. I don't know. I don't like what they did with Monkey. What they did with the Mei Hou Wang. I really don't. I feel like they made him weaker. I think it was a nerf. Unintended nerf. She's basically a support side tech, so supports pretty much always want them on max res. Well, the heal, actually, to me, the heal is not a nerf. On the Mei Hou Wang, the heal is not a nerf because he's going to get more turns, so I think he's going to heal about the same amount overall by getting more turns. It's the lack of the resistance I feel like really hurts him. Losing the resistance stacking in exchange for the attack speed. I feel like the resistance stacking was more valuable for him than the attack speed is. Yeah, I think they took away something more valuable and gave him something less valuable. Now, if they gave him speed scaling damage, it'd be a different story. If he had speed scaling damage, because he already has a 116 base speed, then it would have been a nice buff. But that's not what they did. And so, lacking that, I don't feel like the speed actually is what he needed. If they gave him, like... Yeah, I don't know. I want to say if they gave him the ability not to be defense broken, but that would be too strong. Because that's his issue, is like, you use him to counter things like Okeanos or Hathor, but then they just draft a Barbara and you're wrecked anyway. I don't know. I think they gave him the speed so that he could get in front of Hathor's and try and get a stun out as well. Well, accuracy resistance, obviously not reliable. But, so the thing there is, you want to take Mei Hou Wang into monsters that are typically not built on high accuracy. Because obviously 85 accuracy just neutralizes 100 resistance. But if you take him in against monsters that are typically not built with high accuracy, and you bring him with a strong enough team that he can survive until the resistance passive stacks. So, for example, I use Fang, Aaliyah, Mei Hou Wang, and that team is really, really strong. And you bring him into stuff like a Vigor, where the Vigor might have 30 accuracy, so he's not going to land the defense breaker that he'll block every time. Plum Dog, I hope so. I hope so. Not really sure, but I hope so. What up, Mr. Waste of Talent? How you doing, bro? Nice, bro. Did you get that from me on stream, or did you work that one out? Because that'd be really that's such a random team to have worked out the same. Do I try Dominic with Trilasha? I'm not sure who Trilasha is, and I don't have Dominic. What's up, Hugh? How you doing, man? Yeah, that's funny. I started that team with Kumar, and then I tested it with Monkey, so we actually went through the same process. Sure. So it's same defense on inner server as it is. Looks like I can't get into inner server, but it's the same same defense on inner server as it is on as it is right here. So here's the Carnell. Here is the Molly. Yeah, there you go, Vlad. Here is the Nana. And the Kraka might be a little bit harder if you don't have Kraka. This is the challenge with mana, guys. You can see, like, I've gone through I don't know how many artifacts on stream, and I've been farming the entire time, and I've only gained 1,000,000 mana. Ignore defense, offense. Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay, so that's gonna be this one right here. It's the Samoth Kali. So here's the Kali. Here is the Odin. Here is the Bastet. And here is the Samoth. Ooh, Ollie for the win. Well, at least that means you got a ton of mana, Morel. That's the nice thing. Ton of mana right there. It's a dead Odin now, right? Yep, dead Odin. That was unfortunate. Hugh, it seems like we may not. So there was a lot of discussion about that earlier. Best guess is no. Best guess, but that's all it is a guess. Obviously, this is not the team I would have used here. By the way, I was just demoing the team, but this is not. This team would not have made a lot of sense in that particular AO right there. So I did also build the Linda team. Does she outspeed here? She does not outspeed, but we'll try it anyway. Light Chun-Li is viable. Wow, how does this outspeed a Triton? Oh, well, actually, no, never mind. Yeah, makes sense. Do this, and then, yeah, so here's the Linda team. This one's pretty nice, actually. It does speed things up a little bit. This is the Linda build. You can see I did put one devil in her to get the extra damage. I didn't need the cool time. But I did put in the devil to get the damage. Well, 2 devils. Okay, that's helpful, Scars. So there's confirmation. If the qualifier is going on right now in EU, then that verifies that it's the rush will be next week. Fire and water one. So I did not build the water one. I don't actually think makes much of a difference. All she does is give you, like, if you devil her, you get like an extra 2% attack bar boost. Makes your speed tuning a hair easier, but I don't think she's really worth it personally. Fire one, I can't remember her kit at the moment, to be honest. Yes, I have a different version of this with attack lead. I wasn't really rushing here, I was just kind of demoing teams. Like, I wasn't paying a whole lot of attention here, but yeah, there's Tiana, yeah, Tiana's speed crit damage attack. Let's see, so that one's got a speed lead. There you go. So against something like this, I would switch over to this. Here you could also use the Linda instead of the Zyros, for example. So you do something like this. Yeah, nothing wrong with doing the Megan Bronson. Same thing here. This should work here. Crit, attack bar, and speed increase. Second skill AoE damage was slow. I have to take a look at her. It sounds like Fire Chun-Li mixed with an attack bar buff. That buff block was nice right there. That buff block was huge. Yeah, Linda's worth 2A. Just for AO, though. I don't think she has much value outside of AO. But she's fun. Galleon's not fun, man. Galleon just keeps getting resisted, though. Freeze anything? No. Good 24k hit on the skill 1 right there. There you go, some variations of the Linda teams. Let's see, I don't remember looking at the fire one. I don't know what you were talking about, bro. Okay, this is what I remembered, yeah. Removes harmful effects with a 20% heal and a slight attack bar increase. Skill 2 is a defense break. Yeah, no. Fire 1's not worth being built. Fire 1's not worth building. Vanessa Triton and Belly Okiki defense. Congrats, Scars. That's OP, especially on EU, man. G3 on EU is legit. Oh, that's because I have the crow. It's like, what's up with this, man? This team wasn't losing at all. But yeah, that's because I forgot to change the crow out for the other route. And that's why the triple routes are better. It's just more stable. Crow's too YOLO there. Plum Dog, I say if you have between 25 and 55 or between 30 and 70% of the Nat 5's blessings are worth it. Once you have more than 70 or when you have less than 30 or 25, 75 in that range, then it's no longer worth it. Because after you have like more than 70, it's just too often it's a choice of dupes. And when you have less than 70, it's too often, when you have less than 30, it's too often just going to be a choice between new monsters. And I'd rather just take the new monster and use the coins for something else. Ben, it looks like inter server qualifying is next Sunday. Oh, I just remembered. I rolled a Revenge Rune this morning, and I need to mess with it. This one? No, this one. I just put the HP over the resistance. It sucks losing the roll, but I think that makes more sense, yeah. What up, Tally? How you doing? Doing good, man. Doing good. I bet that hurt you, Jason, watching me take that roll off right there. The resistance rolls were good, too. The reason I didn't mess with it this morning is I was debating if I wanted to keep the res or not, but I think this just makes more sense. The attack defense didn't synergize properly. If it was HP speed defense, I'd probably leave the res. But attack speed defense, it didn't synergize right, so that'll work. Low rolls, but maybe it rolls well. Oh, you know me so well, bro. You know me so well. This one's nice. This one's nice. Max roll, max roll, max roll. All usable stats. On an attack. That's a nice roll too. Now I kind of wish though, because you would either want all 3 rolls down here or all 3 rolls up here. Yeah, Lewis, today's actually the right stream for that. Go ahead and send it to me on Discord. I'll take a look. Alright, so Lewis has got a slot 6 will accuracy rune, 30 resistance, 8 attack, 13 defense. So you're, damn, that's an interesting rune. Okay. Flat HP. So you've got attack, defense. Alright, Lewis, what I would say here is I would gem HP percent. Do I gem HP percent over the attack? I gem the HP percent over the flat HP. I actually see this as usable for like Savannah, for example. I think if you wanted to do a resistance Savannah because of her awaken, this would kind of be a pretty OP Savannah rune. I mean, you'd have to have some other really good runes on there to make up the attack, right? Or you could even do like an attack accuracy Savannah. I don't know. I mean, it's honestly just an optimizer rune, right? It's just wherever the optimizer spits it out, but the efficiency is insane. Those high rolls resistance on the accuracy rune, it's not a great synergy, but it's not a terrible one. So I mean, it's tempting to say like gem HP percent over the attack percent and just go all support, right? But I do think you could use this on a monster like Savannah, and for that reason I want to keep the attack there so you can put the 18%. And it's basically like if you gem HP over attack, so you're giving up 700 HP, which for most units is about 7%, in order to keep 18% accuracy. So the value is there just to gem the HP percent over the flat HP. That's what I would do. Yeah, we could probably do a couple monster ratings. Why not? Let me set up a command. Okay, the command's gonna be exclamation point rate, and I'm in channel 8895. Same thing as an RTA replay, it'll cost 5,000 points. You're welcome, Lewis. You're welcome, bro. Alright, let's see, what was the other question? What are my thoughts on Mei Ying, the Dark Panda? I think Mei Ying is really good. I do. But I've tried to build a couple of teams with him, and I think he's tough to use. So I think he's really good. But I think you need, first of all, I think you need really good runes, and I think you need the right kind of box to fit with him. And then he tends to be more of like a late pick in RTA. So like if I had him, he would definitely fit my RTA team. He might even replace my Fang. He might. I'd have to test it. Probably not because Fang's tankier. But I think he's really good. I just think he's hard to fit. Rune is so dumb. I bring 100 accuracy, I get resistance. Yeah, Bronson, that's always frustrating, bro. That's always frustrating. These are really low rolls, but it synergizes as well. At least it's a triple. It's like a blue with max rolls, but that's fine. So they are at least max rolls there. So HP, additional damage by HP. Let's make it. That's right. Okay. Yeah, that's the real issue here. It's It's not gonna. I need additional damage by HP. That's such a long shot. That's not terrible. Alright, we'll leave that there. What up, Cameron? How you doing? No discount, Jason. 5,000 a monster. That's fair. I give out a lot of points. But what we'll do is, let's give everybody on stream, because it's a chill stream, let's give everybody on stream, we have 51 likes. We'll do 5 points per like. So guys, if you haven't hit the like button yet, we're going to buy your love. In a minute, we'll give everybody on stream 5 points per like. I need here like damage on wind, and I can switch in the dark. Buying monsters? No, I said buying love, Plum Dog. I'm gonna buy your love on stream by giving you free points. Oh, rating monsters, rating monsters. So I'll take a look at your monster build and then just give it a rating on like a 1 to 10 scale. Discount. So honestly, Broom, I didn't look at the robos that closely. Oh, we gotta give you guys a way to use points, man. So Broom, I'll be honest, I didn't look at the robos that closely. I remember, like, kind of when I went through them, I just didn't really think it was going to make that much of a difference, because as a class, they're already pretty bad. They needed more than they got. It's more, yeah. I mean, it's more just about farming, bro. Like, I've been lazy about Steel Fortress. I really have. Oh, we actually got the win. That sucks that it's a low roll, but at least we got the win. That's fine. Alright, well, it's quad damage. It's really low rolls, but it's quad damage. We'll take that. That's fine. Damage from water. That's potential. The thing is, Broom, it's not just about cutting. It's also about being able to do something when you cut. It's like putting a 400 speed set on a Kabila, and all your other monsters are at 150. Sure, or actually, it's like Laura, man. It's like Laura, because I say, you'll be back, Jason. Okay. So stream's probably only another hour or so, Jason. Just so you know. Probably go to the end of when I get to the end of the artifacts. We'll probably wrap up stream. But yeah, so like if you think about Laura, Laura's got 120 base speed and she strips, but has no CC, no attack bar manipulation, none of that. So yeah, I can make a 351 Laura, but what's she do? She doesn't do anything. There's no point in having her go first. So that's kind of the issue with the robos. Like, yeah, the red robo can cut, but he can't actually do anything. That's alright. These are nice rolls, but the light doesn't really do much either. Let's see what we get on the 12. See, Kyle, I actually think the Wedjet buff, for the types of teams where I play against Wedjet, I actually think that Wedjet buff is more impactful than you're giving him credit for. Do I think it makes Wedjet good? Nah. Not crazy, but I think it's a more impactful buff than you're giving it credit for, because like one of the big Wedjet counters is Juno, for example, and now Juno is not going to be able to put out the kind of damage because Wedjet's going to offset the dot damage. So I think that the real issue is Juno, it wasn't enough. It was not enough of a buff, but I think it is a real buff. The Shan buff, Shan did not need a buff, man. Shan did not need a buff. The Chimeras, but again, like, I don't think it's super impactful. because I think Shan already one-shot everything anyway, so like what difference does it really make if he has a guaranteed crit, other than maybe now you can just build him a little faster, so it makes him easier to rune, I guess. Which is probably good. It's probably a good thing because it helps like earlier game players take advantage of him. But on the whole, I didn't see that as like a super impactful thing for any of the Chimeras. Maybe Taor, because Taor is kind of hard to rune. But yeah, just like, it just made them easier to rune. I don't think it's that impactful. I think the Wedjet one could have some play. So I'll tell you just like for my own way that I counter Wedjet. Like if I'm thinking about the Wedjet teams that run like ignore defense style stuff, like the bulldozer ones, I do think it would be impactful. For the way I counter that team, that heal could switch some wins to losses for me. Doesn't mean I'll counter the team differently in the future, it might. So again, I don't think it was enough for Wedjet, but I do think it has some impact. I think, yeah, I think it's better than nothing, but it wasn't enough. Did we match, Savage? Did we match? Yeah, that would suck if that happened, man. I'd actually feel bad. Do I prefer YouTube over Twitch? So Cameron, it's a mixed bag. Generally speaking, yes. I would say generally speaking, I do prefer YouTube over Twitch. However, streaming on your YouTube channel actually hurts your YouTube channel a lot. And that's just some stuff that goes with the YouTube algorithm. Because like a lot of subscribers subscribe for videos and a lot of subscribers subscribe for streams. And not everybody subscribes for both. And so what happens is people who subscribe for videos ignore the streams or vice versa. And then the YouTube algorithm just thinks people aren't interested in the content. So it like actually hurts your channel because you don't get pushed out in the algorithm as much. Because it's called impression click-through rate. Your impression click-through rate gets hurt. So in a perfect world, I would have actually been streaming on Twitch and doing videos on YouTube just because it gets your channel more exposure. However, Twitch requires you to stream 3 days a week to make partner. And if I stream 3 days a week on Twitch, then I would never have time to do videos on YouTube anyway. And so I still had to choose between the two platforms. And then once you get there, I do think YouTube is a little bit better overall. Twitch has a better foundation, but I just feel like we get more interaction on YouTube. I feel like the chat is a lot more active. I think people on Twitch are more used to streamers who don't engage with chat. And so chat always tended to be quieter. Even when we had streams of the same size, on Twitch, chat was always quieter. And a big part of why I stream is for the interaction with chat. So for that reason alone, I do like YouTube more. Like I'll even be on, I don't get onto Twitch that often because I really don't have time. I wish I did have more time. But like I'll get onto Twitch sometimes and I'll see like 600 people in chat and there's like 2 messages, or like 600 people watching a streamer and there's like 2 messages a minute. Which on a chat that big, I would just expect to see more activity. We're getting, on this stream, which this was just like a chill, slow day, relaxed stream, smaller stream, we're still getting 3 chats a minute. I think they needed to adjust the buff to something more useful overall, make it 3 turns, and mess with his speed lead. We don't need more 33 speed leads, Kyle. That creates balance issues. Look at what happened with Oliver. I think they just needed to make his, they probably just needed to make his skill 2 better. I think they just need to make his skill 2 better, basically. Do we go further with this? Damage taken from wind. I feel like this artifact doesn't synergize well. It's efficient, but it just really doesn't make a lot of sense. Oh, that sucks, Savage. Sorry I matched you, bro. So you're having trouble making a special league team. Is it 4-star? Or is it, because they didn't open it yet, and I didn't remember to check it in the patch notes. Is it 4-star this time? Cameron, no. You cannot, actually. That's a definite downside to YouTube. So for one thing, you're not going to see that many streamers on YouTube. Ace and myself both stream on YouTube. I don't know that any other YouTube content creators actually do stream on YouTube. Now that I think about it. Like, once in a blue moon. So Foxy used to, but he doesn't anymore. Once in a blue moon, I think Childish or Sean B might do a YouTube stream, but it's really rare. As far as people who stream consistently, and since Ace is starting to stream again, but he hadn't been for a while, so for the last several months, I've probably been the only one. And now that Ace is coming back, I think we're the only two. Oh, is that it? Are we done? Oh, wait. Wow, are we done? Damn, okay. Guess that's it. Alright, let's see. So many stuff here. I need some mana pickups. HP speed, crit rate, accuracy. Any other substitutes for Magnum? Magnum is very, very unique in what he does. Magnum really can't be replaced, unfortunately. There'd be no point in giving Giyu 33. She still does nothing. Tomo's a speed lead. Tomo's way better than Giyu and still doesn't get used. Kyle, what he really needs is the introduction of more defense scaling units. You know what would be interesting? You know what would be interesting for Wedjet? Give him a crit resist. Or how would you do this? So the problem is Wedjet's basically built for bruiser cleaves, and there are no bruiser cleaves. It's not crit resist. I was trying to think. That's why I said, how would you do this? I'm like, split concentration. I want to say strip resist, but that's not right. How would you make him better? Because I think his kit is really cool. And I think it's really unique. And I don't like the idea of changing unique monsters. How would you make him better? So, I'm thinking... let's see. Cameron, I finished rank 1020. I had G2 locked up a bunch of times, and I just kept pushing because I wanted to have like a new best finish. And on the last day, I actually went like 18 and 12, but because I kept matching people lower than me, I kept losing points, and I finished rank 1020. So Erwin, Jaeger is OP. Huge grats on the Jaeger. He's not a monster you necessarily build around. He's more of a monster that you build towards. So you want to use teams that will kind of allow you to draft him as a 5th pick. So he's best with bruiser teams. But then you don't put him in every draft, you just put him in when he makes sense. You know what okay, I know how you fix Wedjet. I know how you fix Wedjet. Alright, first of all, guys, unfortunately, we are going to have to put on a slow mode because for some reason we're getting spam today. It's only going to be a 2-second slow mode, guys. It's only going to be 2 seconds. It's just to prevent the spam. Alright, here's how you fix Wedjet, bro. I got it. Make it, you give him half of Tian Lang's passive and combine it into his own. So right here, effects of all attack bar increasing skills of both allies and enemies will be decreased by 50%. Just make this the effect of all attack bar increasing skills of enemies will be decreased by 50%. So that the enemies can't, excuse me. So the enemies can't cycle in front of you. So that would nerf things like Ciara. It would actually nerf the Juno counter. It would nerf all of those things against him. It would make him really strong. So yeah, I think that's what I would like to see for him. Add in that portion, just that portion of the Tian Lang passive. So it's just the attack bar increasing skills of enemies will be decreased by 50%. That would make him a lot better. What we're gonna do? Okay, so one more thing we've got to do here. Thank you, Scars. We are gonna take a look. So I'm gonna show you guys actually swap just so you can see what I'm doing here. Thank you, Marco. Shout out from Mexico, because Marco, I live in Mexico as well. So greetings from greetings from us being together, bro. Or not, well, that came out really wrong, but you know what I'm saying. ¿Cómo está? Alright, so we're gonna come over here, we're gonna organize this, and we're gonna find the monsters that are missing runes and artifacts, and we're gonna start to fix them. So we need several of the Gildongs, I knew that already. Those don't really matter. We've got Perna, we've got Tableau, we've got Stella, Barbara, and Bethany. She's actually typed this up. So Perna, Tableau, Stella, Barbara, Bethany. Near Isabel, Julianne. Dover, the second collie is missing an artifact. Brandia. Masha, Fire Chun-Li, and Sue. Rocky, Loki, Jasun, Lagron, Yaku, Alita Pundit, Water Chun-Li, Lapis, Dragunov, Wadam, Carbine, Carlos, Iris, Daphnis. We fixed the crow already. Megan, Covenant, Kim, Pang, Wei Shin, Arden. Magnum, Lucian Belial, Katarina. Guys, I broke a lot of stuff yesterday. Gonna be a hassle. Melissa, Leia, Mav. And Yun. And that's it. Oh, and we also need to ruin the Momo. And that's it. Okay. So we're gonna pull these monsters out and see how many of them we can get fixed before we move over to Apocalypse tomorrow. Well, tonight, actually. I think it depends on how the sleep thing plays out, Kyle. It probably moves Gani Hathor a little bit more into the meta, but honestly, by the end of last season, they were already pretty heavily in the meta, or back in the meta. So I think we'll see a little more Gani Hathor. We might see a little bit more Ken. And I do think we'll see a little bit more Coco in Bruiser teams. But for the most part, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of major changes. Like, I don't. I think that this was a patch, not a balance patch. I don't feel like they did much to the balance. Marco, so yeah, I did talk about the patch quite a bit, and I think you just heard my opinion on it. Let's see. What are some of the features you get when you become a Patreon for Swamp? So Dave, I think there's only 1 or 2 features you get, and I actually don't use them. I'm a Patreon. I do the $10 a month Patreon thing just because I couldn't imagine playing the game without Swap. I bought both Swap Pro and Swap Connect, but I still do the $10 a month Patreon because, I mean, Xandro is, so I've talked to him a little bit. He's a really, really good developer that works with some big companies, and like, I don't think he makes anywhere near enough money off of Swap to justify the amount of time that it takes him on Swap, and I am really hoping that he never stops promoting Swap, because I would quit Summoner's War. Seriously, I would quit Summoner's War the day that Swap was no longer available, and so for me, I'd rather see like a bunch of people become Patreons, and hopefully it always remains worth his while to keep developing the program. Plus, it just shows the appreciation that I have for the program, because it makes the game better. So we need Water Chung-Li, Lapis, I know the Yaku was in there, Megan was in there. Water Chung-Li, then there's a Lapis. Okay, Perna, so I need Stella Tableau next. There's the Stella. Barbara, Bethany, Mimir. Barbara, I know the Belial's in there. Let's go by monster. It's going to be easier to do. I think the Momo's in there too. Let's do that. Bethany will be further down by monster, right? Oh, there was an Argon in there. There's the Argon. Julian's in there too. Where's the Bethany? Anybody see Bethany? There she is. There's the Bethany. Okay, so Perna, Tableau, Stella, Barbara, Bethany, Mimir, Isabel, Julian, Dover. So we need Isabel and Dover next. Okay, Brandia, Kali, Masha. Brandia will be up, Kali, and Masha will be up too. There's the Masha. There's the Brandia. Kali will be way down. What I would not give for a monster search, guys. What I would not give for the ability to search by name. Fire Chun-Li, Sue, Rocky, and Loki. Fire Chun-Li, she'll be up. There's the Sue. Rocky, wait, where's the Rocky? Here's the Rocky. All right, we'll be catching up on chat in just a moment, guys. It's just I'm scrolled up right now to look at the list that I typed into YouTube. So that was the Rocky. What did I need? Fire Chun-Li is the next one that I need, right? So these are all the monsters that I broke yesterday while I was building the new Steel Fortress team. Most of them are monsters I don't use, and most of them are monsters that won't matter. But I still don't like to ever have anything on a broken set. I'd rather de-rune it or re-rune it, but I don't like them on broken sets. Or like on missing runes, because that's how you get yourself into trouble. Accidentally using a monster that's missing runes. Loki, Leo, Hrungnir, oh, and also the Chun-Li's, okay. Young is there. Is that it for the Chun-Li's? You're correct. You two are nothing. Okay. Pretty good out there. Let's see. So, we got Fire Chun-Li, Rocky. Okay, the Loki is going to be way down, and then the Leo will be up, and the Hrungnir will be on the way back. I just saw Loki, right? Yeah, there's the Loki. Alright, Leo is going to be way up. I bet this is really painful to watch. I bet this is just like incredibly painful to watch on stream. My eyes are now watering trying to find these monsters. Like, they're legit. I'm tearing up, guys. I'm actually starting to cry at this moment. And it's not tears of joy. It is not tears of joy. Alright, Lagmaron. ¿Dónde está Lagmaron? Here's the Lagmaron. Okay, the Yaku is out already, right? Yaku is out already, so we need Hrungnir, Chasun, and Pungbek. We'll finish out this first set. There is the Pungbek. The Hrungnir, I'm sure I'm butchering that name. He is here. And then the Chasun right below him is there. Perfect. Okay, we got the Momo out of the last list. So the second list is going to be Lapis. I got the Lapis already, right? Dragonov, we got him. Carmine, we got him. So Huadam and Carlos. Huadam and Carlos we need next. Carlos should be up here. And then the Huadam's going to be way down. Actually, while I'm up here, let's grab that Daphnis as well. Okay, the Huadam will be down here in the 3 stars with the Talus. There you go. Gildong's making me easy to find, actually. That's good. Where did the Huadam start? Here we go. Okay, just that one. Alright, we got the Chun-Li, we got the Lapis, Dragonov, Huadam, Carbine, Carlos, Iris, Daphnis, Megan is out, Covenant is out, Tian Kin, and Wei Shin, they're nice right together. So we need Pang, Argon is out already, right? So we do need the Pang, unless the Pang, did I get the Pang already? I did not, okay. So let's get the Pang. If you guys are wondering why I'm always out of mana, this is why, because I keep everything runed. Part of that is, I started with the thing of like keeping as much runed as I could for YouTube, and because we used to do like weird comps on Guild War and stuff. I haven't done that in a long time, but it just became a habit to keep everything runed. So Pang is going to be close to here, right? Maybe those girls, whatever they're. Rakshasas. We need the Rakshasas. Anybody see a Rakshasa? Here we go. Here's the Pang. Okay, we've got the Argon Magnum, and we need a Lucian. We've got the Belial. We need Katarina. So we need Katarina and Lucian. I just saw them scrolling past. There we go. There's the Katarina. Let's look for the Lucians. Lucians will actually have to run through the Optimizer. There's one Lucian. He's good. He's good. We don't need him ruined. Okay. Then we've got the Belial, Katarina. We need Ergar. We've got the Melissa, so we need Ergar, Halea, and Mav, and we're done. And then I'll catch up on chat. Okay, Ergar would be with Vampires, so he'll be in the 4-star section. But he'll be further down. Vampires are older monsters. I don't know exactly how much older, but they should be down here. Yeah, here's the Vampires, Julian. Where's the Ergar? Okay, so he is not considered with the Vampire section, even though he gets skill ups with them. That's interesting. So then he'll be up near the bottom of the top of the 5 stars. He should be up in this range. There he is. Okay. So that's the Ergar, and then we need Halea and Mav all the way down. We need Harpies and whatever the hell Mav is. Imp Champion or something like that. Yeah, Imp Champion. Okay, anybody see Harpies? There's not going to be many, so she's going to be harder to find. Same thing for Mav. I don't have a lot. They're not 2-8, and I never 6-starred a lot of them. Okay, there's the Harpies. So we just need the Mav, and we're done. Did I take Mav out already? Is Mav out, maybe? No. Okay. Let's switch this up to by grade then. You have to be before this. I don't see him. Alright, let's do this. We'll go by monster and look for the check mark. Where's the check mark? Alright, anybody see Mav? Come on, it's literally the last freaking monster. Why is it always the last monster that creates problems? There he is. Okay. There's the Mav. Got him. Okay. 53 monsters we have to fix. Okay. What is, so we talked about that. What do I think the third 2A will be in Sacrion? I honestly have no idea what the third 2A will be in Sacrion is. I've never paid attention to that Theorycraft as much. So even with the humanoid theme, living armor, I don't know. So I do know that usually whatever monsters you fight in the dungeon are the ones that are most likely to be the 2As in that dungeon. Dave, Swap Pro is a one-time purchase, yes. So is Swap Connect. Let's see. I have a nice box. Thank you, Cameron. I appreciate it. Cameron, 10 Skogels. Honestly, that was mostly just a thing. Like, it was just a hobby. So a while back, I did use 5 Skogels or so every siege a few metas ago. And then at a certain point, I was just like, I'll just keep building Skogels because they were good for World Boss. And a buddy of mine in the guild had like 8. And so I was like, I got to build more Skogels than him. So I built 10, and then I like basically use 1 now. Leo Skogel Cleve? Yeah, I don't actually use that. New Steel Fortress team? Yeah, with Cadiz. New RTA season. So, Jaxie, I'm going to work Cadiz into the new RTA season. I'm probably going to use Juliana a little bit less because Tessa became too prevalent in the meta. And I don't know. Like, it's the same thing. I have to deal with the same question every season. I am never really going to progress if I stick to stubbornly being only turn 2. If I don't create a CC comp, I'm probably never going to make G3. That's the reality. Is I just can't like I have nothing to counter Gani Hathor. I literally cannot counter Gani Hathor. Hathor won 70-something% of. I lost to Hathor 70-something% of the time last season. So it's the same question I have to face every season. The idea of playing that feels like because I don't enjoy that style of gameplay at all. And I've really been trying forever to make it to G3 as a pure turn 2 player. Or as a mostly turn 2 player. Occasionally just building like a single swift pivot. Like this season I had 0 speed leads Rune. But I did have the 340 Ethna. But the 340 Ethna wasn't, or 350 Ethna, 349 Ethna. But it wound up not being effective. The win rate with that was only 47%. So I don't know. I really don't know. I could just run Gani Hathor as my core and probably have a pretty good chance for G3. or at least a really high G2. I could run, I could go to just like creating a CC pivot and probably have a really good chance for a higher finish, but I don't want to do either of them. So I don't know. I don't know where I stand for next season. I know that Julienne carried me through a lot of this season as being a really strong LD, but once Tessa, the issue for me actually was Nana was not in the meta that much early season. And then as Nana came into the meta, people built their Tessas to counter Nana, but then they had really strong Tessas to deal with my Julienne, and Julienne's win rate started to drop. Which left me, because Beelzebub's not very effective, so it left me without really an effective LD at the end of the season. So I think Cadiz could be interesting in the rotation, maybe taking over a lot of how I use Julienne. I don't know. I'll do some testing at the start of next season, I guess, and figure it out. But those are kind of the thoughts I have right now. I do think Coco would be probably something that would fit my play style next season. So Coco may actually make it into my box. But yeah, I have no desire to play the CC style because I don't feel like CC should exist in the game. I think CC diminishes the game so much. So it's tough for me because I don't think that I can progress unless I just give in. And I'm really on the fence. I'm really on the fence as to whether or not I actually want to give in, but this season just showed me. I don't think I can make G3, because I was in G3 most of the season. I don't think I can make G3 unless I create a CC pivot, because I have no way to deal with Canny Hathor. And I really have no way to deal with Oliver. And if I can't deal with those two things, then I'll never be able to consistently stay in G3. Not like those are the only two monsters I lost to. Ongyuki actually had the highest win rate against me of any monster. I lost 90% of my matches, almost 90%. It was like 88% of my matches against the Ongi. So Ongyuki is a whole separate issue that, you know, I need to figure out a way to deal with, and that CC is not the solution for that, actually. So I need to build something that can deal with him. Probably a snipe, turn 1 snipe. I never played turn 1 Zen. I absolutely hate turn 1. I feel like turn 1 diminishes the game so much for me. It's fine for the people who do. I mean, they're taking advantage of something that's built into the game, so that's fine. But I just absolutely loathe the whole concept. It's not turn 1. I loathe the concept of turn denial. So if you think about it, this game, it's a game about turns, right? But I've played turn-based games all my life. That's what I really enjoy, is turn-based games. But I've never played games that involve so much turn denial. And so it just bugs me because that's never exactly fit like what I've done in the past. I'm fine with the ability to gain extra turns for yourself. I'm fine with the concept of speed and taking first turn and everything else, but I absolutely hate the idea of turn denial because I feel like you're not getting to participate in the competition. You're just watching the other person play. It's very frustrating for me. So I don't want to be the person playing that playstyle because I hate the playstyle and wish it didn't exist in the game. We'll do the other Gildongs later. Well, so Sea Slug, to me, Fire Monkey got nerfed. I actually just de-runed him. I think he actually got nerfed, but the balance patch isn't live yet, so you wouldn't be able to test anything just yet. But last season, I did use Fire Monkey against Canny Hathor, and he had a 100% loss rate for me. Not that I used him much. I think I used him 10 times, but he lost all 10, something like that. So I don't expect, even if he hadn't gotten nerfed, he was definitely not going to stay in my rotation this season. I need something better than that to deal with Canny Hathor. Laurel with the super sticker. Laurel dropping the high. How you doing, Laurel? Thank you very much for the super sticker. I really appreciate it. But yeah, I like the idea of single, I accept the idea of single monster neutralization. So something like a Royd, something like a Lauren, their kits make sense to me, and those are really strong in terms of turn denial. But something like a Chung, it just feels to me like that shouldn't exist, because it diminishes the strategy of the game. To me, again, this is just to me, and I know this is not to everybody. I think a lot of people enjoy the control style, or at least accept it as part of the game, but for me, something like a team that's Chung and Ryu, and it's just all 100% turn denial through attack bar reduction, I feel like that's just one person playing the game by themselves. And I know that there's a lot of planning and preparation and farming that goes into building that team, so I'm not trying to diminish it. But at the end of the day, for all of the planning and farming and strategizing I do, then I just don't get to play. I just sit there watching them while whatever happens, happens. Because, like, how do you counter those teams? You counter them by throwing out Hagang and Vertihile and crossing your fingers and hoping that one of those monsters gets a lucky resistance or counter. But you're not doing anything skillful. To counter those teams, there was no skill involved in your part. There was nothing you did. Like, when I actually beat a CC team, I don't feel good like, oh man, I played that great, I drafted that great. There's none of that emotion to me. The only thing is like, whew, I got lucky and didn't lose this time. And so that's kind of like my issue with that. What do I think about Royd and Jubel? So Zen, I tested Royd. I 2A'd him first, tested him a lot. I don't think he does enough for an offense. I think the issue with Royd is with one turn provokes, all it takes is one resistance or one proc, and his entire cycle of control is gone. And because all he does is cycle control, he doesn't do really that much of anything else. I don't think he's going to be good enough on offense. I think he'll be fine on defense. I don't know that there's going to be many defense teams that work for him, but I think if he gets onto defense, like if somebody comes up with a good Royd defense, I think he might be able to work there. Offense, I don't think he'll be reliable. Jubel, I have the same issue. It's a 50% chance not to be crit, a 50% chance to be crit. So I know a lot of people are having fun with him, but to me, I feel like anytime you go in with monsters that have limited activation rates or limited passives, you run the risk of RNG going against you and you're going to lose. And when you're on offense, losses should never be acceptable. Defense, a 50% win rate is good. Offense, you need 100% win rate. So I feel like Jubel is not going to do enough, even though I know there's a lot of people having fun with him. In my game, in my perspective of it, I feel like Jubel won't do enough. Do we have an 8 crit rate on this one? Do we like the crit rate more? Maybe we like the crit rate more. Or faster. I think we like the crit rate more, actually. It's based to 50k. I would probably, from the ones that I've played around with and looked at, Tony, I would probably do Linda first, because I think Linda's really effective on Siege offense. On Arena offense. It doesn't do much on Siege offense, but I think the Linda's really useful for Arena offense, so that's probably the one that I would recommend to people first. Of the new 2As. Definitely not the first of the 2As. Just first of the new ones. 10 crit rate here. 10 crit rate with accuracy. Man, that rune's built for Mage. Okay. That was easy. Yeah, so the thing with that, Lewis, Susano's water. Most water units, most CC comps are going to be wind heavy. So a unit like Susano or like Josephine usually gets rocked against those comps. I haven't tried Susano specifically. I've seen Susano tried a lot, and I've fought against Susano, and he doesn't seem to be all that effective. I have tried Josephine a lot, and she doesn't really do anything. If they had given Orochi or Garo the Susano treatment, might have been a different thing. What do I think of the new Wedjet buff? Orlando, we talked about this one quite a bit earlier. I think the Wedjet buff is not enough and probably not the right fit. But I think it's better than nothing. I think it's a start, but I do think he needs more. Yeah, I 2A'd Darien just because they gave us so much dimensional hole energy that first day, but I don't actually see myself using Darien. I think Darien will be OP with monsters like Artemil where he was already useful, but I don't think he really does much overall. don't think he adds much overall. Alright, Lewis, thanks for hanging out on stream, man. There you go, Kent. Actually, Jin should have gotten the Susano treatment. They should have put that treatment on Jin instead of Susano, and then it would be a much more effective thing. But it goes back to the same thing I'm talking about. At that point, you play the monster and you cross your fingers that the 50% goes your way, but there wasn't actually like a whole lot of skill involved in your part. You just threw the game into a 50-50 RNG match and hoped and hoped. That's not the direction I'd prefer to go. That's just not a comfortable play style for me. Okay, so we have 5 rooms. One of them does not have speed. Which one? This one. Cool. Okay, one of these does not have speed. Which one? This one. Cool. Belial's already missing rooms. We could go ahead and give this to Leo. Oh, low crit rate though. Yeah, but Belial's the only one here that can be broken. Okay, we'll give that to Leo. That's better room. There we go. No accuracy? No accuracy. Okay. That's fine. Garo passive doesn't do enough anymore because everything multi-hits. Garo used to be OP, but everything multi-hits now, and it's just not, it like destroyed Garo. Kent, I use a lot of custard flavor vapes. Ube custard, vanilla custard, stuff like that. Cameron, I do enjoy Siege content. I am actually moving to Apocalypse later tonight. I think I have about 5 more hours and I'll be going to Apocalypse tonight. So they were ranked 3 last season. It'll be my first time. We tried for 2 years to bring Aces of War up to the tourney level. We were consistently in G3, but we just couldn't make it to tourney. I really wish we could have, but it's difficult to recruit. As a non-tourney guild trying to recruit tourney players, it's really difficult to recruit, and it just, ultimately, we didn't get there. And this season we were faced with some challenges, and it didn't look like we were going to make it, and a lot of people decided to move on, so I decided it was the right time to make the move. As videos, I won't be able to stream it. I'll be able to post it as videos, but not stream it. Kent, yes, I was actually demoing 2A Linda earlier on stream. Really, bro? Both times? All I needed was a 6. Alright, that's fine. She'll be fine with 84. Rip. Well, you had to know Megan wasn't going to get... So anytime they've 2-8'd a monster that was already in the meta, they never gave them much. Escher, Jolton, Kali, none of them got really big boosts. Oh, you know what? I forgot to check if I had a better gem. Ah. Okay. Yeah, it's fine. And I really needed that crit rate gem there. Need that crit rate gem to land. Oh, that's fine. She'll miss every crit now. You know it. But I only use her for Labyrinth anyway. It doesn't matter. That was a lot of mana for a Labyrinth monster. Focus. Does that command work? Oh, sorry bro, I had to turn it on. Okay, it's turned on now. $30, Robbie. It gives 30. Kent, so we have the power-up queue coming up soon, so it's not an instant upgrade, but it's a start. Alright guys, Jason is going to be using the brand new Rate Your Monster command, so we'll be rating his monster on a scale of 1 to 10. I will use decimals though. Jason, can I get a 3 for the price of 2? I'll give you 3 for 12.5, bro. I'll give you 2,500 points off on 3. Today's stream only though, not something that I'll carry through on the future, only because this was a more chill stream. You can kind of tell which monsters I don't... Almost all of these are monsters I don't use, so we're just getting... Doesn't really matter what goes on them, I just want to make sure they're not broken set, but these are all monsters that I don't really use. Yeah, Z-Morel, 3 routes for dungeons. He needs to be speed tuned. He needs just an random endure rune. 6 crit rate. There we go. I don't think he needs the accuracy though, right? Well, that's the only one. Okay. Accuracy it is. Actually, he does. He does dots. He does dots, so that's fine. To do your dimensions, infinite points, Sky. Infinite points. All the points of all the viewers. Every viewer on stream has to agree to give you all their points, and I'll do your predator. All right, guys. Jason, I need you to drop. Well, I guess you. Yeah, I just need you to ping me in 8895 and let me know which monsters we're going to be working on for you. No, I'm not logging into your account, bro. I'm just going to visit your island. I don't need to log into your account for this. You just bring the monsters out and I visit your island. That won't work. Zero accuracy, huh? Use 4 crit rate. Use 20 crit damage. This one's better. There we go. Sierra, Orion, Mana Mana Mana. Okay. You got it, bro. So I assume that I'm rating them individually and as a defense as a whole. Mana Mana will be a little bit tricky, but I'll do my best. The other two, obviously, much easier. What are we missing here? Will? That'll work. It's a little low. Is that a good rune? 44. That's kind of a good rune. He doesn't need that. There we go. We'll take, yeah, we'll take this. Less speed. That works. Should have a crap ton of grinds too. Do I have a gem though? I do. Okay, got one. Alright guys, here we go. Jason using nothing until we end our dungeon run. Alright guys, here we go. Jason using the brand new Raid a Monster command. We're going to do 3 monsters. Sierra, Orion, Mana. Alright, we'll start off with the Sierra. So, Sierra's got 33k HP. That's very solid. That's about what I look for, 30 to 33k. 2000 attack. You have not neglected the attack. I like that. The defense, perfect. You're at about 1160, right in that 1000 to 200 range. Once again, really good. Speed, 229. With the speed lead and the speed tower, that's going to be an additional 39. So that puts you a little short of the 286 tick and way past the 237 tick. So you're about 18 speed short, I believe. 18 speed short of the 286 tick. You also have 11 crit damage and 5 resistance. The resistance is an innate, I'm sure, so that doesn't really matter. Is the crit damage through innates or on a rune? It's not, so it's on this rune right here. Alright, let's take a look at the artifacts, because Sierra is all about artifacts. Alright, we've got damage by speed, HP, defense with bomb damage. This is a nice artifact. The rolls are low here to use your, it's blue, right? We got 2 rolls here, 1 roll here. So I guess technically it's hero, but they're all kind of low rolls. This is really a roll and a half. This is 2.75, low roll on the bomb damage. Alright, we've got additional damage by defense. The attack increasing effect and the damage from light. So here you would change the damage from light to attack by speed. Additional damage by speed or bomb damage. Either way, this artifact, the wind artifact right here, I'm not a huge fan of. Additional damage by defense, but she only has 1100 defense. The HP would do more for you. We are only 53 accuracy. There was no skill 2 accuracy here. I would like to see some skill 2 accuracy on the attack artifact. I think that's more important than the bomb damage. I really do feel like Sierra needs to be close to 85 accuracy these days. Stats have just gotten so easy to get overall. So on the base stats right here, for the HP, you killed it. For the attack, it looks great. Defense looks great. You are lacking a little bit of speed, or you need to speed up. You need to either slow down or speed up, but you kind of have a bunch of speed that's just generally being wasted. So Kyle, it is paired with the Orion, but it's still, the first turn isn't what matters. It's the ability to lap that's going to matter. So in this case, like lap throughout the fight, in this case, the Sierra being off by a tick, I would have to drop you a little bit for that. The 11 crit damage is just wasted stats. I mean, technically, if Orion defense breaks something, then it's some extra damage there, but overall, it's kind of wasted stats, and we are missing the accuracy. Like, 11 crit damage is 1.5 rolls. That's, 12 accuracy. So that extra 12 accuracy, if this was over here, and then you had 20 accuracy on your artifact, should be at 85. So because you're short of, the speed is less of an issue for me. The speed is less of an issue for me. I don't think tick tuning is that critical, but I do think that if you're going to build a monster close to the tick, you may as well get to the tick. So we're not going to dock you a lot for the speed. We are going to dock you a lot for missing accuracy. We're not going to dock you for having crit damage. That's fine. That's just more pointing out the crit damage should be inaccuracy. So mostly here, what we're going to dock you for is the accuracy, and for this artifact not being good enough. Overall, I would say your Sierra is an 8 out of 10, 7.8 to 8, 7.8 to 8. And keep in mind, I'm going to try and use like a pretty accurate assessment here. So a 10 Sierra would basically be the best Sierra in the game, not just like a perfectly built Sierra. So I would say your Sierra is probably somewhere in the 80th percentile, give or take, around here. Alright, the Orion, 277. We're a little low on HP, but that's not a huge deal. I think he may be on a defense rune. As long as the accuracy is there from the artifact, we're going to give you a pass on that. The rest of the stats truly don't matter much. Orion is clearly on the 286 tick. He's nowhere near the 357 tick. He was never going to be, so the speed is fine. And Kyle, 8 is a very solid rating. So again, we're rating it on scale of the entire game. So 8 is a very solid rating. Alright, so we do have 14 accuracy here for the skill 3. Skill 2 accuracy, not as big of a deal. So you're at 89. So you've got the accuracy. The HP is pretty close. Is one of these a defense rune? That's actually accuracy. Ooh, we should ping you for not having this gemmed and grinded, but the stats are overall there. So 277 is a solid speed on an Orion. You've got the accuracy. You're a little light on HP, a little high on defense, but you do, I think, overall have a really good build here. He is speed tuned with your Ciara. He's well past, obviously, the tick he needs to be at. I'm going to give this an Orion an 8.8. I'm going to give him an 8.8 because speed range, I think you're just under like the higher G3, which is really good. You've got the accuracy. You're just a little bit light on stats. So I think if he had all the stats, he'd be a 9 because Orion's mostly just about speed and making the stats, right? So we'll call this Orion an 8.8. I think it's a really solid build overall. Now, the mana, however you pronounce this dude's name. Alright, so first of all, not having the 100 crit rate, that's a ping, but because he's on defense, and that's ultimately just an all RNG thing, and because his passive does true damage, not based on crit, it's not a huge ping. Now, 238, you're running him with the Ciara right here at 229. Would I want him in front or behind the Ciara? I would probably want him behind the Ciara. So Orion's going to defense break. Ciara bombs whatever's defense broken. Mana follows. Or vice versa. He does multi-hit, right? Attacks will deal 50. Also, additionally decreases the HP. 30% of the damage dealt after every attack. So that's a decrease. That's not a hit. Yeah, he is a strip too. No, okay, I changed my mind. I would want him in front of the Ciara. I would definitely want him in front of the Ciara. I think your speed tuning is correct. He strips on the skill 2, so he does a strip into reset on the skill 2. It's more important at this point that, yeah, so here's the thing, Kyle. It does and it does not. It offers a backup strip if Orion derps, but the problem with that is that he can strip anything because he's LD. But Ciara is only going to chase either a water unit or a defense broken unit. So his strip doesn't actually do anything for the Ciara. Unless he, well, I guess a third of the time. So 1/3 of the time that he uses skill 2, he'll strip the water unit. And 15% of the time from there, he'll be resisted, except actually a lot more than 15% because we only have 27 accuracy. So yeah, I mean, he's not going to impact because a lot of the time the Orion's already stripped that unit or defense broken something else. So I don't think his strip really plays that much here. But it's more about the multi-hits and the Triana potentially blocking your kill. I think he plays better. I keep going back and forth on this, but I think I want the Ciara in front because if somebody tries to bring in a Triana, see, the thing here is the way I read this is the HP reduction is not a hit. So I don't think the HP reduction, I don't think this actually kills. I think it just reduces them down to 1 HP, but I am not sure because I don't have him. So Jason, correct me if I'm wrong. But if I'm correct that his secondary HP reduction does not kill, then he should be acting after Ciara. Because we want Ciara to proc the Triana passive. If his second hit does count as a hit and can kill, then we want him acting before the Ciara. So I really don't know. Okay, yeah, so if it can't kill, then we want him after the Ciara because of Trianas. Because I don't think his strip plays a major role, but I guess technically he could reset a Triana, but again, he still has to not derp. On the whole, I think if you take in accuracy and neutrality and all that other stuff, I would tune the Ciara in front of him. But that was a tough one to think through, and I'm honestly not even positive on that. I would want to test it, but my first build of this team would put Ciara in front of him because of the Triana counters. All right, from an artifact point of view, okay, we have the 11% accuracy. That's good. The additional damage does nothing for him because he's not a multi-hitter, so that's kind of wasted. Skill 1 crit damage is fine, but I'd rather see skill 2 crit damage. So overall, this artifact doesn't really do a whole lot for him. It's like basically got the 2 rolls of accuracy and then like a little bit of value from the skill 1 crit damage. This artifact right here, additional damage by attack and speed. Again, he's not a multi-hitter. I'd rather see additional damage by element or damage reduction by element over here. lacking those, I'd rather see single target crit damage on your own turn as opposed to less enemy HP, especially because he's acting in front of the Ciara. So the less enemy HP is not really going to do anything for him. Yeah, Kyle, but the damage isn't going to get that low. I mean, so Kyle, I'm not going to say for sure I'm right because this needs to be tested. And like you need to test this, and I'm not testing it right now, obviously. So it needs to be tested. My initial belief is that the Ciara should go in front. I would test the tuning both ways. I'm not going to dock him for it because I don't know for sure I'm right. That's just my recommendation, is test the tuning both ways. But I do feel like it will work better if Ciara acts in front of him. A little bit. Really close, though. Just a little bit better. All right, overall, I think the Ciara gets targeted before he does. The Ciara is very tanky. He's less tanky, so that part of the build makes sense to me. I think the speed, you're wasting some rolls in speed here. Whether Ciara goes first or second, he's 138, she's 129. That's 9 speed in there. That's more or less wasted. They're also on different ticks. Of course, Ciara is going to cycle in front of him after the next turn. But overall, I just feel like you've got a couple of stats in here that are not doing enough. Like, it's 2 rolls of stats into the speed that just aren't really doing that much. We're missing the crit rate. The accuracy is low since his skill 2 is so powerful. I feel like I would like to see the efficiency of the builds, but my instinct tells me this is a less efficient build than the Ciara. I feel like it's significantly less efficient because if you look at the overall stat, well, he's on crit damage though. That's the difference. That's where all those extra stats are from the crit damage from him. But I wonder if he actually needs crit damage because he gets that 30% damage reduction anyway. I feel like I would probably go crit rate bruiser on him and treat him more like a Carcano and let Orion do his thing. So Kyle, the answer is yes, you need 70.1% on a non-fire unit, but that doesn't guarantee Ciara changes. It only gives her the ability to change. What makes the randomness of the AI beyond that point, I don't know. I've had monsters with 0 HP before, or like 1 HP, and Ciara chooses not to touch them. Then I've had monsters at 29% HP, and Ciara bombs them. So I think once they get like below that 70% point, Ciara can change targets, but it doesn't guarantee she will. It just means she can. So again, when you put all of that together, I just feel like you'll get more consistent impact by not thinking of all the what ifs, because there's so many what if scenarios. So instead, just think of what is most common. What is, not what if. There's lots of scenarios where the Ciara going second will work better, but the most common scenarios to me seem like the Ciara going. I'm sorry. There's lots of scenarios where the Ciara going third will work better, but the most common scenarios to me feel like the Ciara going second will come out ahead. So 111 and 109. Okay, so he's actually more efficient, but yeah. So I did correct myself on that. I said that's because he's on crit damage. I am going to overall say he's highly efficient. He's got good stats. I don't know that I feel like crit damage is the right build for him though. That's the thing. I think you've got bomb damage from Ciara. You've got CC and reset. I don't think he needs this crit damage. He also has the 30% damage reduction. I feel like you're giving up too many stats to be on a crit damage build. And I mean, we all know my thing with crit damage and all that, but that's not this. That's not this. This just feels to me like it's not necessary because you've got true damage from his passive, you've got true damage from the Ciara, you've got CC and turn cycling from the Orion. I don't think the extra damage he gets from crit damage is going to change as many fights as the lower HP that he has could potentially change fights. I would rather him in a bruiser build on crit rate. So that's the only part I'm going to dock you. I think that, the speed tuning I'm not going to dock you because I really don't know which way they should go first. The accuracy, I do feel like it's low. I do definitely feel like it's low, but I would have only shot from maybe 40-ish, and you've got basically, honestly, you've got 38. So I guess the accuracy is actually fine. Oh, it's 30% of the damage dealt? I thought it said 30% of their HP. Oh, okay. Alright, that's fair. That's fair. I told you, man. I did tell you, this is a monster I have never used, and I've probably fought him twice ever. I have no experience with this dude, so this one's tough. I'll tell you what, Jason, give yourself back the 2,500 points. We'll make this one a freebie, because I don't think I can really give you the best evaluation here, because I just don't have experience with him. So you can give yourself back the 2,500 points. I'll still give him a score, and I still gave you my thoughts, but I won't charge you for this one, because I don't have the experience with him. I still stand by what I said, man. I still don't think he needs... I think he needs to be on a bruiser build. I don't think you gain enough damage from the crit damage build. I'd rather see him in a crit rate build, give him the extra HP, and just get massive crit damage from the artifacts. The damage gap won't be that big. And at the end of the day, it's the turn cycling defense breaks and the Ciara bombs that are going to win this for you. If Ciara gets the bomb, something's going to die unless there's a trio on it anyway. I still like him on the crit rate build. I do. But again, I have no experience with him. So I think the accuracy is fine. I would say that we'll rate him for a crit damage build. So as a crit damage build, he's got the HP, attack, and defense, which is all really solid. The speed tuning may or may not be out of order, but overall it's just that the speed gap, I don't like the speed gap between him and the Ciara. And then I don't think that the artifacts do him justice. So we're going to knock you down a point for the artifacts. We'll knock you down 0.2 of a point for the lower accuracy and the unnecessary speed gap. And we'll call him an 8.8. So I would go 8.8 on the mana. I would go an 8.8 on the Ciara. Excuse me, I'd go an 8.8 on the mana and the Ciara. On the mana and the Orion. 8.8 on the mana and the Orion. And then the Ciara I would have... kind of right where I stood at originally. I would have her at 8 because I think the accuracy is really important, and I think the speed is not ideal, and I think the artifacts could be improved a little bit, particularly the wind artifact. So there you go. That's my ratings for you, bro. We're gonna go 8.8, 8.8, and 8. Overall, those are really solid builds because, again, I am saying that 10 is what I would expect to see if I was looking at a malicious defense. So if 10 is what I would expect to see in a Mali defense, then I think that's a very, very solid G3 defense that you've got built right there. I think there's a couple of tweaks that you could make. But I think it's a very solid defense on the whole. Mostly it's just artifact improvements though. So CT, it's not that the speed on the Ciara was a bad thing, it's that the Ciara was very close to the next tick, but not on the tick. So it's just kind of wasted speed. Now I don't know the exact tuning, but a 277 Orion probably tunes with about a 218 or 215 Ciara. I'd have to check the optimizer, but 277 Orion should tune to the Ciara at somewhere around 215 or 218. At 215, 218, or 229, at all of those speeds, she's on the same tick, which means she's going to gain the same amounts of attack bar. So at that point, I don't know that he actually needs that extra speed. It's not a bad thing to have, but the extra rolls into speed could have gone to other stats. 219. Okay, there you go. Hey, I was close, guys. Come on. I was close. So he's 10 speed over on the tuning, and then he's almost 20 speed over on the tuning with the mana. So I was awfully close there. You got to give me credit on that one. I think I said 250. But yeah, so I mean, I think that's, you know, that's an extra 2 rolls that could go into other stats, basically. Take that with the roll and a half on the crit damage, and there's 3.5 rolls. So the Ciara is super efficient. 110% or 109% is super efficient. It's a super efficient build. But you want to take into effect the stats that are not benefiting you as well. So you've got 5 resistance. That comes from an innate. That's fine. But the 5 resistance is a little over half a roll. The 10 speed then, I guess, is 1.667 rolls, so that's 2.1 rolls. And so, you know, overall, even though, like, each of those rolls basically is worth 1% on the overall efficiency, give or take, approximately. So, you know, in total, when you go through it all, you've got 2.5 to 3 rolls of stats that are not really benefiting you, and then you're missing accuracy, which would have benefited you a lot more. So if those 3 rolls were all shifted into accuracy, that's 24 accuracy, for example. Obviously, it's not that easy to do it. Runes still have to fit together in the right way. So I'm not saying like that may have been the best build that you could make on the account, but if we're talking about in a vacuum, what's the perfect build? You know, for the perfect build, I would have her speed tuned more precisely without the crit damage and get all those extra rolls into accuracy and have the 85 accuracy. Ultimately, the reason I've docked you on the Ciara is the accuracy. I mean, that's like the little things, like I wouldn't have docked you for having an innate resistance. I wouldn't have docked you for having the crit damage because it certainly doesn't hurt you to have the crit damage. I docked you because she didn't have the accuracy, and I docked you because the attribute artifact was really just not very good. It was like a below average or average-ish artifact. For a monster at that level of efficiency, you want to see the artifact be at an equal level of efficiency. Or synergy, something like that. Who do you make 6-star first? Carcano, Carlos, or Kali? Skyblood right now I would do the Kali. So you can run Kali with a Megan and get a one-time kill, but if you're early game, Carcano needs a crap ton of stats. He's really hard to build early game. So if you're at the point where you're thinking between those few monsters, then the odds are you can't build a good Carcano. And for that reason alone, I would do Kali. And then Carlos really just isn't very good. I've tried him in a few different teams. He's really just not very good. There's a reason he's sitting here with 2 runes. All right, let's see. So... Morel, how do you know if a monster needs to be on crit rate or crit damage? So, Morel, if a monster has the ability to consistently kill the opponent the first turn every time, then he should be on crit damage, because then he's not getting hit. But a 277 Orion, which is very fast on violence, so this is no knock on the Orion, because the common build for Orion is going to be violent. However, a 277 violent Orion will not take turn 1 against a Swift player ever. So at that point, if the Swift player is coming in against my team trying to take turn 1 against me, I need my monster to be able to survive. And if my monster is on crit rate and I have more stats going into the HP and defense, I have a better chance to survive. So basically, if the monster, like if you're using the monster on offense, it's also much easier because then you can control when you take turn 1. So just as an example right here, if we look at my arena offense, for example, obviously all of these monsters are on crit damage, because, you know, he's got no HP, he's got no defense, but what he does have is a 320 Tiana, making sure that he takes turn 1. This is the Swift build on the Tiana. But if I was running him with a 300 Tiana, he would be on Will Runes, and he would be a lot tankier, because the 300 Tiana is not going to take turn 1 as well. Or a 270, let's, you know. If I was doing this like a Shield Will turn 2 cleave, then all these monsters would be on Will Runes and they would be tankier. Probably still on crit damage, to be fair, because the idea is for me to kill something in one hit. But, you know, that's arena offense. If you go and you look at like a Siege team, which I can't actually because I'm not in a guild at the moment, but if you were to go look at like a Siege team, then it's going to be a question of, are you going to kill the opponent's monster on turn 1? If you are, then crit damage is the build. If you're not, then crit rate is probably the build. Usually. I mean, most of the time. You got it, Skyblood. Bro, everything. I put it, I mean, you know me. I've got everything on crit rate. That's not true. I don't have everything on crit rate, but I use a lot of crit rate builds. Like Julian, okay, Julian's crit damage. Julian's crit damage all the way. Because Julian doesn't die, right? That's his whole thing. That's his passive, is he doesn't die. Hungbek is crit damage because he one-shots stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's gonna vary. It's definitely gonna vary based on what the monster's role is. So, I mean, if you just look, we can just go here. Let's go all, crit rate. That doesn't, those are garbage. Let's go by default grade. So here you go, the Ethna on crit rate. I've got Xing Zhe on crit rate. I've got Carmine, that's, I don't know what that is. My Chung Pung's on crit rate. That means nothing, that one's nothing. Nana's on crit rate. All my Carcanos and almost all my Trianas are on crit rate. Carcanos and Triana both. Yeah, Kyle, I agree. Yeah, crit damage is not bad, but crit rate in the current game gives you more value. Especially, here's the biggest thing, guys. Here's the biggest thing. Just go take a look at your artifacts. Whoops. And just think about like this. So, skill 3 crit damage, right? I can get 20 something, we're on power up level. I can get, 21, 16 skill 3 crit damage and more crit damage here and more crit damage here. I can get, well, this one's low because it's, yes, we need to do, I don't know if equipable. Yeah, here you go. So I can get 20 crit damage, skill 3 crit damage with some more crit damage here and other additional stats. So think about it like this. If you're on a crit rate rune, you have 50 crit damage. And with that 50 crit damage, if you add 20 crit damage through an artifact, that's a 40% gain. So you're now hitting 40% harder. But in the meantime, because you're on a crit rate rune, your attack is probably much higher. So just remember that crit damage, basically what crit damage does is it multiplies the damage that you're already doing. So if you do 1,000 damage and you have 150 crit damage, you hit for 2,500. If you do 2,000 damage and you have 50 crit damage, you hit for 2,500. So either way, crit damage is just multiplying base damage. So if you use a crit rate rune and you get more stats through subs that way, because you don't need all the crit rate through your subs, you use the crit rate rune, then you can get an additional chunk of attack on your monster, so you're multiplying a higher number. And then when you get really big crit damage on your artifacts, you get a higher proportionate multiplying factor on that number. So the thing is, you cannot get crit rate on your artifacts, and crit rate is one of the least efficient stats because you need 100 of it. So you, generally speaking, to get 100 crit rate monster on a crit damage rune, you're going to need 85 crit rate through subs, which if you divide that through 6 runes is something like 14. It's about 14 crit rate per rune. Since the average crit rate roll is 5, you basically need 3 rolls of stats from every rune to get that monster to 100 crit rate. When you switch to a crit rate rune, you're gaining back 12.5 rolls. And that 12.5 rolls could be an extra 100% attack, it could be an extra 100% HP, things like that. Plus, all of those stats are actually grindable. So when you put your monster on a crit rate rune, you get way more overall stats, and then you can make up the crit damage through artifacts. Now, there are definitely monsters that are going to benefit from crit damage, and there are definitely places to use your crit damage runes. So even just for example, if you look at my RTA builds, better example. So Beelzebub, definitely on crit damage. Julienne, definitely on crit damage. But Volantis is on crit rate. Magnum, crit damage. Diana, crit damage. And Ethna, crit damage. But my Ganny, he's on crit rate. Tyrannus, crit rate. Zingzay, crit rate. Douglas, crit rate. Vertihile, obviously, right? So there's places for each, and it just depends on if the unit is meant for a fast fight or a long fight. If the unit is meant for a longer fight, or if you're not going to be able to take turn 1, crit rate's usually better. If the unit is going to be able to snipe something right out, crit damage is better. And crit damage will generally give you much more efficient builds. And when I say efficient, I just mean also a more efficient use of stats. So you can make your monsters significantly more tanky, and because of artifacts, you don't lose nearly as much damage as you gain in other stats. Is there a limit to how much crit damage you should put on a monster? No, there's no limit. There's no limit, bro. I mean, the more crit damage you can get. So again, you could look at the Julienne here, but this is a monster that can't die, right? That's his whole passive, so that's why he's got it loaded in. You can look at the Beelzebub here, but this is a monster that people don't target because of his passive, because he comes back. If you look at the Magnum, this is a monster that cuts. So Magnum is designed to take his own turn. So that's why these monsters all make sense on crit damage, because they're going to get to kill something before they die. And Diana, obviously, totally different type of concept, but same thing. Her damage multiplies by crit damage. So these are the monsters that you want on crit damage. Now, Douglas If you can get him there on crit damage is the better build, but this is about the lowest attack you can put on a Douglas at Guardian levels, and even this maybe is a little bit low. And this is about the lowest HP you can go at Guardian levels, so getting him to crit damage is insanely difficult. This rune set is like 111% efficiency, and I still couldn't get him on crit damage. Because these are really, I'm not comfortable, I actually feel like he's too slow. He's missing about 30 speed, and he's barely got the other stats he needs. You could argue maybe he doesn't need this much defense, but that's just the nature of the runes. That's just grinding stuff on your runes. So he could probably get away with less defense, but he needs this much HP, he needs this much attack, he needs this much crit rate. And so this is just like, this is it. This is what I could get on him. Yeah, and then the other thing, kind of along the lines of what Kyle just said there, so keep in mind that, you know, there's a point of diminishing returns too. If you have 200 crit damage and you add an entire roll of stats, which is 7 more crit damage, you're gaining less proportionately than if you add 7 crit damage when you have 50. So you're gaining the same amount of damage, but you're gaining less proportionately. And then, of course, there's also a point where maybe if you have a Covenant that hits for 60k, does he really need to hit for 70k when 60 already kills everything? There's no real sliding scale. There's no proportionate. That was something they talked about in Summoner's War a long time ago, but that was a rule of thumb, maybe before the optimizer. Honestly, what you really want to do is the best way to do this, and I've got videos on this, so I'm not going to do a full, as a matter of fact, I have another video coming out on this in 3 days, so keep your eyes open on my channel because the video will show you how to calculate damage with artifacts. But just as a quick thing to answer your question, so if you want to know, let's not use Lucian, let's use Vigor. Let's use Vigor. So if you want to know how much damage your monster can do, you can get this information straight from the optimizer. So I could go HP and crit rate and crit damage, all as options here. And then normally you would put Vigor and Violent. Okay, I want to be very clear on this. Normally you would put Vigor and Violent, but because it takes like 5 minutes for me to run a Violent build, we're going to do Swift. The only reason we're doing Swift is because it lets us demonstrate this faster, right? So I come down here to damage, I go to shred, I go to max, I take the enemy element, and it's a single target ability with a defense break and a speed buff. He gives me a 21 attack lead. We're going to just say the enemy is at 100%. We're going to use our guild war building, so we configure all this stuff, right? Then we can go ahead and just hit close, and we say, okay, I need 85 crit rate minimum on my Vigor. I want my Vigor, since we're running it at Swift, we're just going to say I want him to be at 280 speed. And then he needs 25 accuracy. You know, so you just pick those stats, we go ahead and hit optimize, and then I can sort by damage right here, and I can see 12,000 damage. This is a crit damage build, right? So I did a really quick run there. 12,000 damage is my hardest hitting build in crit damage. What if I get rid of all the crit damage runes? Well, right here, 11,123 damage in a crit rate rune. So you can see I'm only losing 10% damage. But the difference is this build has 40,000 HP and 162,000 effective HP. But if I come out to the other build, I've only got 32,000 HP and 140,000 effective HP. So the real question is, do I give up that 10% of damage in order to get those extra tanky stats? And then that, like I said, that just comes back to how you're using the monster. Your Lucian does not care. Your Lucian does not care how many HP he has. It doesn't matter, because if Lucian gets hit, you've lost the match. Lucian needs to go first, and he needs to kill everything. Lucian does not care, but Vigor's meant for a much longer fight. And Vigor does care if he gets hit. Vigor wants to be tankier. So the goal is to get the tankiest build you can for your Vigor that still does a lot of damage. And so that's where that crit rate rune comes into play. You can see with the crit rate rune versus the crit damage rune, it was a 10% damage difference in that example that I just ran. So there is no direct proportionate build. I once ran a build for my Poseidon on stream. It was an arena build for Poseidon on stream. And it randomly came back with an attack slot 4. Like, seriously, I was in shock. I was like, attack slot 4, but it just so happened that I had runes that when you put them all together, they had so much crit rate and so much crit damage through their subs that the highest damage build I could make for my Poseidon was an attack slot 4 using a whole bunch of runes that really would have never fit on anything else anywhere, because it was like slot 1 runes that had like tons and tons of crit damage and crit rate but didn't have attack, and slot 3 that had tons and tons of crit rate and crit damage, and so on. And so it was like, use this attack slot 4 along with all these other runes and you have your hardest hitting possible build. So that's the value of the optimizer, being able to help kind of navigate through all that mess. Alright, I think that's probably a good place to stop. So stream was scheduled, yeah, we're right at the end of stream, so that's probably a good place to stop. And on that note, guys, we're going to wrap up stream, but as always, I appreciate you guys hanging out on stream. Keep your eyes open. I've got a few more videos coming out over the next few days that are going to talk about some of the things we're literally just talking about. So there's a video coming out pretty soon that shows you how to calculate artifact damage, and so on. So anyway, guys, on that note, hope you all have a great rest of your weekend. Good luck on your rushes tonight, and I'll see you on the next stream.